bankers and bureaucrats. But today the Nazi died, so if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies, and will never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come, and if I die here for the resistance, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers, and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance, and those who died for liberty.
Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell, of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Oh, workers, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab or will you be a man?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Don't scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
tell, come home tight. Need to bite the neighbours out with this chorus. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lace of Gilshandra. Come tell us how you slew them old Arabs 2 by 2. Like the Zulus they had knives, bows and arrows. Of how bravely you faced one with your 16-pounder gun. And you frightened all the natives to the marrow. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lakes of Gilshandra.
Hello there, my little chickens. Merry Sunday to you all, unless you're in the wrong time zone, or indeed watching this in the future or past. To which, you know, hello from the future and or past. How are you? I'm alive at time of recording. Thank you for asking. We've got something slightly different than your usual Sunday fare today. Oh yeah, we'll get to it though. Don't forget you can give me money in the form of bits and subs and subscriptions and all of that jazz if you wanted to. Israel and Iran are going at it again. Well, Israel is attacking Iran, certainly, yes. That does appear to be the case. Anyway, enter Posh Bird, stage left. Hello, is it me you're looking for?
Oh no, it's tea I was looking for actually.
Oh, no, that's fair enough. No, that makes sense.
I'm British after all.
And I'm not nearly as refreshing.
Although to be fair, technically tea isn't refreshing because it's a diuretic. It'll make you more thirsty, not less.
And if you wish to dunk your biscuits in me, you will not be retrieving them.
How are you, Kevin? Anyway,
I'm exceptionally well. How are you?
yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I had a nice chilled out day today, which
Yes.
is good. My Sundays usually are, so can't really complain.
Yes. Well, good. What you been up to?
I've been playing Magic: The Gathering mostly because it is
Yeah. Fair enough.
it's a Sunday. That's what we do every Sunday. So there's
Yeah.
not really much more than that. Just basically spent all day playing Magical Cardboard, and then I got back and did some editing. How about you?
I've been enjoying the 5th day of a fantastic nip and tuck test match. Oh no, because it fucking ended after 4 days, even though the 3rd day was washed out, basically. Ridiculous.
Yay! Woo! Well, at least Gus Atkinson did well.
Yeah, England won. That was nice. Top scoring by Gay during Pride Month. Woke is back.
Literally given his England cap at the very start of Pride Month. Exactly what you want to hear.
Literally. God bless him. Although he top scored in the match with 57. So, yeah, an absolute belter. Thanks, curator of that particular pitch. Jesus Christ.
Home of cricket, though, right?
More like the homo of cricket. Am I right?
Ayo!
Hey, that's, yeah, okay. I've done my bit. Anyway.
Question, Kevin.
Go on then.
What do you think links the last 4 days of protests in Albania with the Chagos Islands?
It's unhealthily obsessed about by the leader of the opposition?
Close, but I guess that's kind of in the right ballpark as to why. So I don't know if anybody's seen recently. There's been protests like across Albania, like huge numbers of people taking to the streets across Albania all week. All week people have been out in their droves protesting. There's been water cannons, there's been clashes between police. I saw reports that the Prime Minister's house got burned down, but those were apocryphal, unfortunately. And it's about the fact that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump want to buy an island off the coast of Albania to build a luxury resort on, because Ivanka Trump just happened to find the island and think, oh, this is incredibly beautiful, let's build a resort. That's the story that they're going with. Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard about this, but I feel like, Hosier, if we ever needed you more than we need you now, please, your people yearn for freedom.
I mean, if there was ever a time in which a communist dictator probably would be warranted, this story goes real fucking deep. This story goes real fucking deep. So the island off the coast of Albania is an island called Sazan. So if I'm going to bring it up on the map here, I'll share it with you one sec as well, Kev.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's one of the millions of little islands in the Adriatic, basically.
It is indeed. Can you see okay?
I can see Jared Kushner versus the Flamingos.
Indeed, that is the title of the article from Sky talking about the Albania protests, basically. Because they're actually mad because they believe that it's an unsullied island with lots of great scenery and lots of important horticultural sites and lots of different levels of undisturbed beauty that they don't want ruined by, it becoming a massive building site, right? But as you pointed out, Kevin, it is indeed an island in the Adriatic. So what you see here, what I'm showing here, is the Strait of Otranto. There's Otranto, which is in Italy, and here is the island of Sazan, which is right at the barrier of the Strait of Otranto, which is where the Adriatic joins the Ionian Sea.
Yes.
That is what the island of Sazan is.
Because in Europe, we like to carve up the tiny little inland water bits into even smaller bits of water, even though there's not practically any difference between these bodies of water.
I mean, that is true. But as you can see here, like the shortest point between Italy and Albania here is right where the island of Sazan is. It's right where this.
Look, I'm just saying, Italy. The Tyrrhenian Sea is just another bit of the Mediterranean. It's not a different bit.
Well, if I go to the island of Sazan on Wikipedia,
Yes.
it doesn't say luxury resort in the description, and it doesn't say that it is some kind of unsullied paradise. What it does say is that it's a designated military exclusion zone.
Right.
Because the island of Sazan, historically, in times of imperial conquest, imperial conflict, before the kind of modern era, had always been an occupied military installation.
Which is not
Basically,
surprising because, I mean, literally, when you have Venetian sea traffic that has to pass through it, it's a very important choke point and a massively important trade route.
It is indeed. Both of those
much
things.
like if you had, say, I don't know, all of the world's oil going through one tiny bit of sea that you shouldn't block up or something, that sort of thing.
Indeed so. Yeah. Indeed so. It's a very astute observation, Kevin, a very astute observation. Basically, all of the human structures that still exist on the island of Sazan are all military in nature. They are bunkers, they are former fortifications from previous eras in which it was occupied purely for military means. This is basically what the island has always been from antiquity until the modern era, in which it basically became abandoned, really, because we lived in a time of relative peace.
Oh, well, we lived post history, of course. Yes.
Indeed so. Someone call Fukuyama, history is beginning again after all.
I love it. The ultimate refutation of a philosophical idea is the idea of calling it the end of history and it having another period of history after it.
Quite so.
Okay. That's game over.
So it must be pretty interesting, really, that Ivanka choke point just thinks, this is incredibly beautiful. Why don't I get Jared Kushner to buy it? Doesn't that seem a bit of a coincidence to you?
Does seem a little bit of a coinky dink, yes.
Indeed so.
Because, I mean, if you want beautiful islands, Croatia's just up the coast there, and they've got fucking loads of it.
So true. Interesting that Affinity, which is the company that Jared Kushner owns, or this part owner of, that is wanting to purchase the rights here in this case. A bunch of people on the board are funded by Saudi Arabia, former members of the World Bank, members of the American Enterprise Institute, people who quite literally wrote the Abraham Accords.
I'm sensing a lot of anti-Semitism right now.
I mean, this is basically all people who are incredibly powerful or related to the Trump administration, people who've been part of the actual administration itself in terms of setting policy, right? Of course, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are very, very close, but all the people with all of their fingers on both the project and the company behind it, and indeed in terms of the dispute here, are all people incredibly heavily linked to the current kind of Project 2025 morass
To be
that
fair,
surrounds the Trump administration.
this island was promised to Jared Kushner 3,000 years ago.
literally, so true, so true.
You know.
So, given the people who are funding it, the people who are in charge, I do not buy that they want to purchase this to make a luxury resort, but on the promises of untold riches and inward FDI for the Albanian government. I don't think the people of Albania clearly agree with that either, given the levels of protest that they've been, days and days and days of protests over what is happening here.
So was the Albanian government so cooked they were actually going to sell it to him?
Oh yeah, the deal is basically still
Albania. Like, this is the thing, right? You've got to stand up to this nonsense. You really do. For whatever reason, even if they did want to just build a luxury house, you have to stand up to it. It reminds me a little bit of when Elon Musk, because these fucking rich bastards think they're so rich that they can just buy anything, which of course isn't true. There are things that are beyond value in terms of wealth. And he said he was going to fight Jeff Bezos in a boxing match at the Colosseum. You know, the ancient Roman monument in Rome. And the mayor of Rome came out and said definitively, no, he is not. No, because that's a really sacred, like, cultural site. No, he can't. If he wants to have a boxing match, we have like purpose-made arenas for such in Rome, if he wants to. But the Colosseum is not a fun place where you can just do rich people shit. No, you can't have a fucking boxing match there, because it's not the year fucking 200, you prick.
Well, literally. Well, the thing as well is that obviously the Trump administration have lots of money. They are all, the Epstein class, right? They're the ones who are trying to buy influence internationally across the world using money from whether it is their petrochemical mates or whether it is from the finance sector, whether it's from Saudi Arabia, whether it's from Israel. There's lots of money sloshing around that they think they can use to be able to buy up areas of land across the world. Because obviously, remember, like, one of the things that Donald Trump wanted to do was buy Greenland from Denmark.
He did. I was literally about to make that comparison. Like, he's learned from publicly just coming out and saying, we're going to definitely buy Greenland. And he's tried to surreptitiously buy this one. It still hasn't worked. But at least he's learned that you don't just come out and say, we're going to take that shit. Because that doesn't really work. That's not how the world operates, you know?
Well, again, another important thing about Greenland, it's a military choke point. It's a military choke point in the Arctic Sea between America and Russia.
Yeah, literally,
and indeed a trade port, right? Yeah. It's whether you were trying to defend yourself, if you genuinely feared that there was going to be some international geopolitical meltdown where you would need security, or whether you were the ones engaging in the imperialism and wanting to make sure that you had every single potential trade route locked down yourself so that you could start doing Iran-style tolls, whether it be in the Strait of Otranto or whether it be in the Arctic Sea.
Well, this is the thing with Greenland. Like, they didn't even need that because they've already got massive military bases.
Well, exactly.
Although interestingly, the geostrategic importance of that particular area was summed up by the Cod Wars. I don't know if you're aware of those little babies. During the 1970s, Britain fought, I think, 4 wars. And I say fought in inverted commas because there weren't really wars. But technically, we went to war. There were naval engagements. The Icelandic government decided to be wankers and just massively expand their fishing right areas around Iceland, far beyond the usual, was it 3 miles around your coast type deal. And every time Britain went, no, fuck that noise, and got into battle, and Iceland threatened to leave NATO. And because Iceland is massively important to hemming in the Arctic fleet of the Soviet Union, because it's literally right in the middle and they didn't have radar that covered it all, the Americans went to the British and said, no, you have to back down now. So we lost 4 wars in the course of about 8 years to a country with no army.
Incredible scenes.
So cooked are we to America and have been for decades. Yes.
Britannia rules the waves, of course.
Well, I did say the 1970s, not the 1870s. Yes.
But yes, so given the fact, as you pointed out, that Greenland already has American military bases on, it is already a NATO outpost to be able to defend the Arctic Sea from Russia. America didn't need to annex that.
And it's literally the sovereign territory of Denmark, an actual NATO nation. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So all the claims from the Americans of needing Greenland for their own security are a fucking hogwash. It's nonsense. It is already part of their security state because of the fact that America controls NATO. So the only explanation for that makes sense is wanting to control the trade routes. Weird that they also have people incredibly close to the Trump administration wanting to buy this island, incredibly important for the trade route through to the rest of the Balkans via the Adriatic Sea.
Yeah, yeah, massively important. Yeah.
Which takes me to where I started off this conversation.
Mm.
Because there is another news story that's come out today.
Okay.
Trump reportedly considering buying the Chagos Islands from Mauritius.
It's the inevitable outcome. When you have a dodgy as fuck real estate mogul who's given the power of the most powerful nation the world has ever known, albeit at time of recording because China are about to take over that shit, yeah, this is what's going to happen. He just sees islands as real estate rather than places where people live and that.
Well, of course I do think that he sees them as real estate, and certainly you'd be able to sell to Trump that he has this big real estate opportunity. But of course Trump is a moron and isn't in charge of any of these things, right? He's not in charge of anything that's going on here. He's just a fucking muppet at the top getting convinced by Lindsey Graham and Netanyahu to start stupid wars for no reason.
Yes.
But if, say, for example, again, you were looking to control trade routes and you were looking to expand your personal level of influence far beyond the post-World War II guardians of freedom of navigation to something a little more sinister than that, wouldn't you want to have control of the Indian Ocean? Wouldn't you want to have control of the Mediterranean? Wouldn't you want to have control of the Arctic Sea and not have any nonsense like, I don't know, it being a NATO base rather than your own sovereign territory in Greenland, or it being Albanian sovereign territory in the Strait of Otranto, or indeed it being Mauritian or UK territory leased from Mauritius in the Indian Ocean? Would you not want control of it yourself?
It is pretty sinister, yeah. There seems to be a dark connection between these things.
So
It's essentially trying to do a worldwide sort of mafia trade route protection racket.
I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening, but given that all of these things have happened incredibly sequentially, it's hard to write that off, right? You can't seriously tell me that all of these things are just being done specifically because America is worried about Chinese influence, right? It sounds to me, given that China have basically started no wars outside of Tibet in the last fucking 80 years, that any of that level of supposed fear of Chinese influence is something that you would say if you wanted plausible deniability.
Yeah. It's what Trump always does. It's Trump enriching himself and his rich friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. And on top of that, potentially expanding American imperialism even further.
Well, yeah, I mean, but as the guy in charge of that, he gets to set the boundaries and parameters of it and take a cut, let's say.
True.
The Don of the Mafia doesn't just hand it all out to the minions, does he? You know?
No, quite so. And it'd be very easy if you were someone like Stephen Miller or someone from the Project 2025 morass of people who genuinely wanted to create a fucking American imperial vortex surrounding the world. It would be very easy to sell Trump on side by saying, "Ooh, shiny real estate opportunity. Look how rich he'll become."
Yeah, and let's be honest, he's only awake about 4 hours a day now. I don't know if they're drugging him or what, but like he's a doddery old man. They replaced one mentally dilapidated old fuck with another one. I mean, what next? Are they literally going to have the fucking grandpa from SpongeBob elected president? I don't know how decrepit they can go.
I mean, given the fact that both of them are older than every other president that's ever been president at any point ever, yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
Although, to be fair, I've always been a little bit cautious with that kind of stuff because the first sort of 100 years of American existence, the average life expectancy was like 52. So it's not really fair to compare. But yeah, I get the general point. It's a gerontocracy, you know? Because it's not just the president that's old, it's every other fucker that's old. Look, AOC isn't even like super young, and yet she looks like she bathes at the fountain of youth by comparison.
So yeah, that was something that I learned about today. And I don't know about you, Chab, I'm scared.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. To go back
Although, again,
to go back to Fukuyama in a certain sense, back before he predicted the end of history, it was rather better to have at least a competing superpower. A monopole is not better than a duopole, it would appear.
Quite. Yeah, it's not a great. It's not great. I mean, at the very least, well done to the Albanians though for sticking up for their own
Yeah.
interests, right? Because again, they probably would make a lot of money out of it. Probably getting a bunch of luxury investment into Albania and people going to holiday in Albania for the first time, basically fucking ever, would certainly bring in some inward investment. But the people of Albania are standing up to Trump in a way that clearly no one else in Europe is, because they know, like, I mean, why else would they be funding so many governments that are so compliant across Europe? Were they not doing it for, again, having the
And like Albania, like I feel bad in a way because like Albania are kind of fucked because I mean they couldn't militarily stand up to Trump, but you've got to have some self-respect. I don't think you can be selling off your strategic shit like that. That's no. Look, if they want to buy some land in Albania, like in the mainland or some shit, and build a house, cool, I guess. Bit weird, but whatever. Whereas this is pretty obvious. This is pretty obvious. And it's really interesting. Do you think he learned about the concept of the potential toll levy from the Strait of Hormuz situation? Because like he didn't seem to understand it before, and now he seems to very, very firmly understand it. So
Well,
I think he's learned something.
I mean, the people in the Trump administration warned him about the potential Strait of Hormuz stuff when he was being coaxed into war by Netanyahu. So it was war gamed by people like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio.
Yes. Anyhow, this is the point at which I would usually say, should we do some Laura Koonsberg? But chat. There's no point. I'll just give you a rundown. I watched it, right? It's David Lamby pretending to have stood up to Pete Hegseth. No, he didn't. Zia Yusuf trying to start a race war that he would be on the losing side of, apparently. Whatever. And was it Claire Coutinho or someone? I don't even remember. And some other private school wankers talking shit.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah. So instead, we do something that's a little bit different. It's kind of Yank slop, but also kind of Brit slop. It's perfect for both channels. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Lewis Goodall.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry, go on.
The fact that it's got a UK-based interview, I think, makes it acceptable.
Yeah. Lewis Goodall. One of the better journalists, but still shit. Because after all, it is the British media, so, you know, none of them are good.
You can't expect much, can you?
No, but he is like, you know, the slightly less smellier piece of shit in the pile of turds.
Yes, that's true.
And he's interviewing a man who I'm told is not a proper leftist because he has a house. And I'm told that by very, very smart people on the internet. So I definitely believe
you can't have a house and be a leftist. I am but a mere liberal.
Literally. Anyway, this I've seen one or two clips. It's not great. It's not good.
Well, Hasan,
Yeah, me
thank
too.
you so
That's why I wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
much for joining us. We had booked this and hoped that it would be in person, but instead you're joining us, I think, from LA for reasons we can get into. We will get into it in full, but it must have been a little bit of a curious week for you in terms of your relationship with the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I still got much love for the UK, and
Much respect, big dog. Woo! Sorry, I got excited.
I feel bad for all of my friends out there fighting the good fight, but yeah.
So you didn't need to give me and No Justice a personal shout out.
Literally.
I do appreciate it, but he goes above and beyond, doesn't he, the lad? You know.
Yeah, I was definitely not expecting the Labour government to be the government that bars my entry into the country.
Well, you have not been watching closely enough. And that's fine. You are a foreigner, so that's fine. Like, people in Britain don't watch closely enough, so that's
so true.
that's fine. You live on the other side of the world. That's fine. But like this has been genuinely one of the most authoritarian governments of my lifetime.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't think anything. The last time I think we got this authoritarian was 90 day detention, right?
Yeah, which was also Labour.
Yeah, weird how that happens, isn't it? Weird how that happens like that. But they should watch in 1.1 times speed just 'cause it's an hour long.
Yeah, true. Although I don't have to actually rush tonight because that thing got pushed back. But
Cancel. Oh, okay.
but we can still go 1.1 if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially considering that I've been to the UK on numerous occasions, both under Keir Starmer's rule, but certainly under Tory leadership for the past decade or so.
Well, but this is the thing. Keir Starmer understands the gravity of the situation and realised the thing that would turn around his poll numbers was banning a Twitch streamer. That's the really important thing that people wanted him to do that he wasn't previously doing. You know? And yeah,
we're next. We're next.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I'd quite like to be banned from the UK, if I'm honest, because it's shit. I'd quite like to be kicked out. Kia!
Deport me to Greece, please.
Yeah, anywhere. France. Fuck it. I might be the only person trying to get to France on a small boat. Let's go.
And I've delivered numerous speeches inside of the United Kingdom until this very last incursion, I guess.
But it's a case, isn't it, that you're...
And it's so ridiculous. Like, at least he got, like, an email. Cenk Uygur turned up to the fucking airport. That motherfucker had his passport and shit. And they were like, nah, you ain't getting on this plane, bro. Like, they made him go to the airport and they couldn't even give him a ring and just be like, don't bother, mate. No, you can't come in. Fuck you. He had to go to LAX or wherever.
Still planning to, or the Oxford Union, which is one of the events that you were coming to address or coming to undertake, that's still going to go ahead?
Oxford Union actually defended both myself and Cenk.
Yeah, that's another... Sorry, I will stop being pause, Andy. But, actually, no, I won't. Why did I lie? Yeah, the Oxford Union, I think, did the right thing and came out and said this was wrong. Whereas the original reason he was coming over, the South by Southwest Festival, was just like, oh, well, decisions about this are down to the government. Look, yeah, motherfucker, we know you're not the Home Office. Take a position, you cunts. The fuck? You're supposed to be there, like, literally in their statement, they were like, oh, we support free and open discussion. Do ya? Because it seems like you're a bunch of little bitches who'll kowtow to the authoritarianism of the fucking Home Office. Literally, Shabana Mahmood's little puppies.
Uyghur, my uncle, and wanted to continue putting on the event as an act of defiance, I guess, in violation of the spirit of this travel ban.
So your understanding is that you are basically prohibited from coming to the UK for the foreseeable future? Have you actually had any communication from the Home Office?
No, the only communication I've gotten from the Home Office is the revocation of my ETA, and they told me that it's not something that I can oppose, and that if I would like to travel to the UK, I have to get a different visa, that I have to apply for like an actual visa.
Which, given that they turned down the initial ETA, means they're not going to approve that. No.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can try. Just like you can knock on a door and the person on the other side of the door can tell you to fuck off, you know?
Given how close this was to the actual travel date, the suggestion was pretty clear. They just did not want me to attend the events that I was supposed to attend inside of the United Kingdom, especially considering, from what I understand, that the visa process for all these other visas, which is totally unique for an American citizen, by the way, because our countries are supposed to have a special relationship, which implies that as an American citizen, visa-free travel was the norm into the UK for the longest time, and the visa on arrival is the way that things go nowadays.
Well, I, for one, think we need some extreme vetting on these Yankoids. Until we find out what's going on with them, you know? I, Kevin Logan, am calling for a travel ban on all Americans into the country.
Speaking of travel bans in America, did you see the dumb shit that the Iranian football team are having to do?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, there are many reasons America should have had the World Cup revoked from them, but picking and choosing countries, and not just that, but like, why didn't... Oh, it's so strange. So, obviously, they're at war. Granted. But, like, if the ancient Greeks can put the fucking swords down for the Olympics, like, they go in there to play 3 games. All of their games are in America, so they're being allowed to travel into America, but they can't stay overnight. So they're having to fly in, play the game, and fly immediately back out and stay in Mexico. Now, at that point, if you're picking and choosing, FIFA should say, well, you don't get the World Cup then. Don't apply next time. You either host any country that qualifies, or you don't fucking get it.
It's a fucking disgrace.
I mean, literally, it is actually a fucking disgrace.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Obviously, this will be the worst World Cup of all time. It's
Well,
literally going to be a fucking car crash. It's obscene. It's obscene
Yeah.
that this is happening.
Yeah, the dynamic pricing alone is enough. Like, it's just the scummiest shit. And like a cunt, of course I'll watch it. Of course I fucking will. I'm an addict.
I had taken the precaution to get the ETA ahead of time, just to make sure that there were no issues. And the fact that they revoked it so close to travel implies that they just wanted to not allow me in. And also, they told me I can still apply for a different type of visa, but no guarantees there.
We'll return to that because I want to talk a bit more broadly about politics, but about American politics and UK politics as well, because you've got a lot of insight and a lot of interesting things to say. I mean, I suppose just on it though, actually, funnily enough, even though your prohibition into the UK has received a lot of attention here, in terms of kind of the question of borders and of people getting into one country or another, in the UK at the moment, a lot of the discourse, and I think in a lot of European politics as well, is the idea of actually with the World Cup coming up, that lots and lots of Brits or Europeans, particularly those who might have said critical things about the Trump administration, might not be allowed into the US. Now, as a journalist who regularly goes into the US and has had a few things to say in my time about the Trump administration, I have to say I've never encountered this myself, but this is a sort of peculiar time, isn't it, when we've got European countries and American countries, you know, two very close sets of allies sort of across two continents, talking about whether or not we're going to let our citizens mutually in to each other's territories.
Yeah, it's absolute bedlam. There is no more coalition, or rather, the coalition of forces that are taking shape right now are some of the most dangerous and most odious types of politics that I've ever experienced in my lifetime. You have the MAGA movement, which by my estimation is almost turning into this behemoth of an international fascist movement, really, that has close associations with both reform in your country and also Restore Britain as well. And there's this weird allegiance where we're becoming more toxic against one another. And
like, literally, the obscenity of having Pete Hegseth turn up to a D-Day event and talk about invasions of migrants. I thought we celebrated on D-Day the defeat of fascists, and we didn't invite them.
And that's the same guy who threatened to fucking invade Greenland.
Yeah. Not a great idea, really. But at least the Prime Minister went there and didn't, like, leave halfway through this time.
True.
Which isn't always been the case in previous years with previous leaders. Like, it's a low bar, but Keir Starmer this one time did follow through. Well done.
And the age of international rule-based order is seemingly being cast aside. I find it to be very dangerous. I find it to be very worrisome. I don't think it's just about being able to enter the United States to go watch your favorite football team.
Don't pander to me with your football. You wanted to call it soccer, okay? I'm not a fucking. Come on now. I'm culturally sensitive enough that's fine. Jesus. Next, he'll be calling people wanker, and then I will have problems.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Rongold and Adam, for the 5 gifties each.
Oh yeah, people gave me money as well, but I ignored it. I don't want to encourage them to be generous. Good God.
Defeat the Americans or whatever. There are far greater consequences, I think, later down the line. But it has been interesting to see the universal condemnation of this act from places that I never thought would actually defend me. Pro-Israel outlets such as the Free Press or even The Economist and the Washington Post editorial board have all collectively panned the British government's decisions.
I do have to say, one of my favourite moments of the year so far was Hasan Piker responding to repeated attempted member of parliament and failed to even become a candidate, Paul Mason, with "Suck my dick, Paul Mason."
Oh my god. Oh my god, it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was inch perfect. We love you, Hasan.
Yeah. And apparently, by Hasan standard, several inches.
But then there's also a lot of right-wingers who actually celebrated it, and I find that very odd as well, because they're probably coming to the United States of America to watch their national teams play. And what if their travel is impeded in the same process?
It's interesting, just to take you back to that phrase you just used. You think that there is an international fascistic organisation that's forming, and you would elide.
I've been warning about this for years without blowing my own horn too much, but I sort of first read about this it must be nearly 20 years ago. They call it omni-nationalism, the concept of solidarity between nationalistic groups. Now, of course, there are limits because each group sort of hates someone in the world, but the idea of like white people in America and white people in Italy and white people in Russia who are patriots for that particular place. And when I say patriots, I mean they don't really like the place. They hate the place because it's got too many brown people or whatever. Sort of linking arms and sharing, I don't know, tactics and money and so on and so forth. This has been a thing that's been growing for years and years. And MAGA is merely the kind of final manifestation on the world stage.
2025, yeah, like it has been a decades-long project to get to this point. You know, whether it is how MAGA formed, the weaponization of Trump as a cult figure, and indeed their 30-year-long plan by the Heritage Foundation to be able to rig the Supreme Court. This is all stuff that has been decades and decades and decades in the making. And again, it's all these same people who really love Israel. Why do you think the Christian nationalists love Israel? It's because they, as you say, believe in this level of omni-nationalism where everyone gets their own little national grouping, where you have a world of ethno-states that don't mix with each other, and Israel is the perfect opportunity for them to both get rid of the people who they don't want in their country, because they don't want Jews in their country, because they're anti-Semitic, but they also want to make sure that all Jews are in the same place, because that fits their omni-nationalist idea of how people are supposed to live.
Yeah, exactly.
The MAGA movement and reform and restore. And restore is an interesting one because, of course, it's, I think a lot of listeners and viewers to this show might be surprised that Restore is even known in the United States. Surprised it's even known across...
Because Elon Musk.
Yep.
Elon Musk has been fucking blaring out his fascist horn about it.
What's funny, right, is that Restore Britain aren't going to win any seats outside of Great Yarmouth. All they're going to do under first past the post is take votes away from Reform UK.
Yeah.
But what it will do is it's going to give Rupert Lowe loads of revenue from, like, Twitter Blue. So that's basically all this is. All it is Rupert Lowe making loads of money personally as an individual politician at the expense of Reform UK winning elections, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Essentially, it amounts to that Twitter Blue thing, and his pushing of certain people is essentially money laundering. It's a way of giving money to people without ever having to declare it or have it done for tax reasons.
It's the UK, but I was in CPAC in Dallas not long ago, and actually I was taken aback, actually stunned, by the number of people who knew who Restore were, who knew who Rupert Lowe, the MP for Great Yarmouth, who on paper would be quite an obscure figure in the United States, but actually no, he's very well known.
Yeah, and a part of the reason is because I think we live in the age of the internet, and like I said, there is an international component amongst far-right elements in European society, certainly, or even South Korean society, as a matter of fact. I mean, Charlie Kirk, before he was assassinated, had traveled to...
No one do any jokes. Stop it. No. Bad chat.
Japan and South Korea, and through these massive events with the South Korean far right, and they were all wearing MAGA hats. I find that both fascinating and also terrifying at the same time, that there is this amalgamation of right-wing forces that are not necessarily adjusted to their own local considerations and their own local problems, but instead they get their notes from MAGA and they wear MAGA merch, which I find very strange. I feel like it's not even a principled version of nationalism that you would expect from these old school fascists. It's very interesting to observe.
What do you make of, as someone who has probably been thinking about British politics a little bit more than you might have otherwise been, when you see where we are in British politics, you see Nigel Farage, you talk about Rupert Lowe and Restore, what do you make of where British politics is at the moment, and particularly in relation to US politics? Do you see US politics
Utter devastation.
Devastation. Why do you think devastation?
Utter devastation. One of the early warnings that, I mean, it's not a secret that I was a big fan and big supporter of Jeremy Corbyn.
Blatant anti-Semitism.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Straight off neo-Nazism from Hasan Biker.
He's out here calling other people fascists when he supports actual Hitler.
Literal Hitler.
And
I had to explain to new people the other day. I was on Turn Left, and I still do my Hitler song at the end. If you need context for that, I'm not going to give it you. I do a Hitler song, okay? And I had to explain to everyone why I do the Hitler song, even though he doesn't have the outro anymore and hasn't for like a year.
still am now a friend to Jeremy Corbyn as well.
Oh, you name dropping hussy! That's outrageous. Oh, I'm just mates with him. I was just texting him the other day. Jezza, what's up, you bitch? Yeah.
Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.
Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler.
Honored to know him.
And he's defended you this week.
Yeah, he has, and so has Zach Polanski.
Oh, Flexorama! It's outrageous.
Oh, Kevin. He's only flexing by saying he knows the person who interviewed me. Like,
exactly. Stay in your lane, Hasan. Okay. So,
it's fine.
like, you haven't even been on his podcast, you bitch. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy for like mid-tier streamer Hasan Piker to be happy that he has received support from someone who deigns to interview No Justice MTG.
Well, exactly. Maybe one day he can get on your level and get on the podcast.
Oh, he was on the podcast though.
Oh, was he? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
My person though.
Well, I was the 2 slices of bread in a Chenk sandwich this week.
You were.
I did Turn Left on Wednesday and Thursday, and he was interviewing Chenk on Wednesday and Friday, and he interviewed him on Thursday. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I think that kind of works. A kind of spicy meat in between the very, very white slices of bread.
Elaborated with Zach as well at times. So, what I will say is, since the Corbyn ouster, it was very clear that Labour was headed down a very dangerous path, going back to Blairite versions of the
No. Look, clearly you don't understand the international. What was it? The fucking that Jones said about it. About the dear leader being the vanguard of the proletariat or some shit like that. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, never mind.
Party, if not far worse, right-wing elements in the party overtaking the entirety of Labour. And one of the warnings that I delivered on the night of the election, after Keir Starmer won, with less votes than Jeremy Corbyn had, ironically enough, was that if the Labour government continues down the line of austerity and refuses to address some of the economic hardships that people are experiencing, that has caused a lot of the former Labour strongholds to turn into areas captive by Reform, and first the Tories and now even Reform, I was worried that far-right elements were going to overtake British politics, and they certainly did. As a matter of fact, the Green Party's surge has only been the last saving grace of British politics to a certain degree. Considering that I think in the absence of this Green Party resurgence, Labour would be eviscerated, and then you would have an eclectic group of, I guess, independent MPs and maybe your party as well, to a certain degree.
My party? What?
It's my party, and we'll lose if we want to.
True. Although, speaking of weird coalitions, the Birmingham Council has managed to actually form a council. And they've been sworn in, led by the Green Party.
I'm sorry?
They've been the Green Party are the lead party on the Birmingham City Council now. They formed
I thought the Lib Dems were.
No, they formed a coalition with the Liberal Democrats and the Independents and the Better Birmingham people. And I don't know what the fuck that is. I'll have to look into that, to be honest. But yeah, so we'll wait and see on that. Yeah. Fun times ahead. Fun times.
Incredible, they've just been gifted an end to the bin strike by Labour, having copped all of the flack for it over the last year and a half, right? And then they fix it and then immediately lose all of their seats.
Well, maybe don't drag it out for 18 fucking months. They could have sorted it straight away. Just saying.
Tried to put a strong opposition against this behemoth that the Reform Party has become.
Are you talking to Polanski? Aren't you advising Polanski?
I wouldn't say I'm advising him, but you know,
we chat, we go for a drink, you know. It's nice. To be able to Flux, like, I'm not advising him, we just chat. It's you know.
I chat with him every now and then.
He's, particularly in the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's receiving, as you might imagine, ferocious media attention, and a lot of the newspapers are coming for him in a very big way, and they found some things that are embarrassing to him, and so on, some of which he's acknowledged. What would you say to him as someone who has been very, very successful in corralling the power of digital media on the left? What would you say to him about how to deal with the traditional media?
Be bold, be brave. Don't be afraid to be contentious at times. Stay on message always. I think one of the things that Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, did so expertly, in spite of the barrage of attacks and heinous smears that he was receiving, not dissimilar to what Zach Polanski is currently going through, was he would always play this intellectual judo, where he would consistently reframe the conversation back to, and dare I say expertly, back to a key policy of his platform. I think this was a major issue with Jeremy Corbyn. The anti-Semitism smears were unfounded and totally ridiculous. However, it wasn't necessarily the idea that the broader British public found Jeremy Corbyn's politics to be odious and that he was a sincere anti-Semite. There was a little bit of hysteria there for sure, but it was the fact that he constantly found himself addressing these accusations, because we have a finite amount of time on every broadcast, especially when a politician is running for office. And if you utilize that time consistently on the defense, consistently having to answer accusations that people have made about you without actually addressing what your platform is, or even why people might be very upset at you, because oftentimes it's not the smear itself that is valid, then people are only going to remember you as an unserious person that is constantly in controversy.
Is that completely fair, Hasan Perk? I mean, remember that the Equality and Human Rights Commission in this country conducted an
entirely impartial organisation.
Yeah, we've definitely learned that recently. And even then, they just said that there was some failings and that they found that Pam Bromley and Ken Livingstone had been anti-Semitic. Like, they didn't say anything about like it being an anti-Semitic party or Corbyn himself being an anti-Semite.
And if they actually were an impartial organisation, I think they might have actually quarantined the Tories for their rancid nuclear outbursts of Islamophobia.
So true. And even then, like, the person who sorted out the anti-Semitism was Jenny Formby, the General Secretary appointed by Jeremy Corbyn.
But you know.
Investigation into anti-Semitism into the Labour Party, and it concluded that Jeremy Corbyn, when he had led it, had committed unlawful acts related to anti-Semitism. Key findings included Labour was responsible for unlawful harassment, discrimination. There were serious failings of leadership.
Miss, I should point out, the Liberal Democrat is the leader of the council, but I think I'm right in saying most of the cabinet are Green, or the most amount. There isn't actually a majority; it's a plurality, because there are these weird coalition. Like then this was always going to have to happen, because there were no two parties that were going to be able to join together to create a coalition. Unless Reform and the Greens got together, which wasn't going to happen, obviously.
There's some really dumb moments from the local elections. Did you see that the Lib Dems won majority on one of the London councils, whilst not even getting a plurality of votes, and they got an outright majority in terms of seats?
I love democracy. Isn't it fun?
Process for handling anti-Semitism complaints. Two things can be true at once. It can be true to say that people who perhaps had ulterior motives decided that they wanted...
Oh, motherfucker. Like, do we have to go through the litany of, like, shit that was said about him? They said he was... it was dangerous because he did wear a tie, and he was dangerous because he didn't wear a tie. They said he was a terrorist because he didn't bow at the right angle at the cenotaph. They said... what else was there? He was a Czechoslovak spy. Was my
Chairman Mao style bicycle?
Chairman Mao style bicycle. Just all this rancid shit about him. They literally made up every possible conceivable thing to throw at him, and the anti-Semitism was just a part of that. The entire strategy was to just undermine him at every possible turn, including he lives in a luxury £1 million house, and it's just a regular ass house because it's a rich part of London. Like, it's expensive to live in central London, which is where he represents. He doesn't live in a mansion, he lives in a house. Just a fucking house.
A terrorist house.
A terrorist house? Hey,
Hey.
to use some of this to try and undermine Jeremy Corbyn, but it can also be true to say that Jeremy Corbyn led the Labour Party during a period when it did things that it shouldn't, and it didn't do other things that it should have done with regards to anti-Semitism.
Well, this ironically also dovetails back into my travel ban as well. But I think if what happened to Jeremy Corbyn was taking place right now in 2026 with the current understanding of the actions of Israel or the ideology of Zionism or the history...
And by the way, we can tell it's so disingenuous because you can be someone like Tommy Robinson, and as long as you support Israel, you can also be fantastically anti-Semitic, as he has been in the past, of course.
Nigel Farage likewise.
Yeah, because it's not about protecting Jewish people, it's about protecting Israel. And nothing else.
Of the development of the Israeli state, I believe that...
Like, I think they'd still go after a socialist, but look, if you were a socialist, I don't know how you would square this circle, but let's just say hypothetically, you had all the same policies of Jeremy Corbyn, but you were also pro-Israel. I think he'd probably be elected Prime Minister because the media backlash wouldn't have been as great.
I think have you not seen that most outlets have just like stopped bothering with trying to make out that Zach Polanski's anti-Semitic stuff? The Telegraph obviously go with it too because like they're fucking
Well, 'cause it's
insane, right? But most legacy media outlets have all just fucking stopped because no one's buying it anymore.
Well, no one's buying it because of the boy who cried anti-Semitism, right? Like, no, you can only do it so many times. And secondly, it definitely cuts less well when you're saying it about a Jewish person, which is silly in a sense because you can be Jewish and anti-Semitic. Look at fucking Benjamin Netanyahu, for Christ's sake. But it just doesn't. It doesn't really hold so well. Like, you can't really pin someone as you know, a crazy fucking Hitler fanboy when they're a Jewish guy. Really,
No.
Doesn't really work.
These attacks would not have been anywhere near as successful because what we consider to be anti-Semitism, which I find to be morally repugnant, let's just make that clear, and completely unacceptable, as does Jeremy Corbyn, in the conversations that I've had with him at least, was oftentimes matched up with criticisms of Israel or even a defense or even analysis conducted on why certain militancies exist in opposition to Israel. Prescribed terrorist organizations such as Hezbollah or prescribed terrorist organizations such as Hamas.
Or Palestine Action.
True, the real terrorists.
Yeah.
But any kind of mention or any kind of conversation with these prescribed terrorist organizations was deemed to...
I mean, no one would doubt that there is tremendous anger, and many people would say absolutely rightful and righteous anger towards the actions of the government of Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu. Would you also accept, though, that sometimes, and perhaps this happens under Jeremy Corbyn, and perhaps you yourself at times have been guilty of this?
Right, but the thing that annoys me, Lewis, is that people will say, of course there are legitimate, criticisms and blah, blah, blah. But why is it that whenever anyone criticises Israel in any way whatsoever, they get accused of being anti-Semitic? It's almost as if to the people who are defending Israel, there is no such thing as a justified criticism of Israel.
Well, I mean, it's cynical, right? Like, we need to be clear that in lots of cases, people just will not be saying things in good faith, especially not people in the right-wing media, especially not people who consider the America and the UK's relationship with Israel to be paramount for geostrategic reasons, right? It doesn't matter the sanctity of the arguments or the good faith of the debate. You can justify in your own terms as shutting down all discussion about Israel, regardless of its war crimes, regardless of the absolute inhumanity of its existence, behind the fact that you understand and you know that in your heart of hearts as a Western imperialist and a Western chauvinist, that all of it is justifiable to protect the interests of America in the region. To protect the interests of the West in the region, right? So
And
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Well, and that's you point out, that it's they're bad faith actors, and this is why Polanski and I know you're listening, Zach, regular listener, of course, should stop apologising for this shit. Like, it doesn't do you any good to apologise. The people seeking the apology will take it as guilt. You're admitting to guilt in a thing of which you are not guilty. No. You're essentially that was the ultimate failing of Corbyn, in a sense, was by kowtowing to the nonsense, you're admitting that the framing that they're using of that discussion is worthwhile, which means you're always going to be on the defensive. You can never win that discussion.
that sometimes that fury, which again many people might think is rightful or righteous against Zionism, and in particular the type of Zionism that is prosecuted by the Netanyahu government, has spilt over into anti-Semitism, and that it is best to and it is right to sometimes acknowledge that fact and be honest about that fact.
Oh, absolutely, and I do acknowledge that, and I suspect Jeremy Corbyn at times has also acknowledged instances where it does go too far.
Well, he's never ever said, to my knowledge, he's never ever said that anything he has done or said has been anti-Semitic.
I don't think he.
Well, yeah, because I don't think he has said or done anything anti-Semitic.
No, like he never has done. In fact, that he's going to stop short in lots of cases for condemning Zionism outright. Like, I don't care whether or not he says that. I don't think there are a lot of people who are mad at him for not making that position clear, but his position has always been on the humanity of the Palestinian people, and rightly so.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Jeremy Corbyn has been personally anti-Semitic. I would. We can go through the report if you would like, and I can maybe make a better assessment of some of his actions.
Do you think that you've ever said anything or done anything which could, in the cold light of day, be reasonably interpreted as anti-Semitism?
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, I'll give you an example personally. One of the things that I routinely deploy, one of the pejoratives that I routinely deploy, is inbred. And I use that against vulgar ethno-nationalism, vulgar fascism of all different sorts, because nationalism...
I use it against the British royal family. Just because it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, it's just a biological statement of reality. Yeah.
And fascism in general revolves around ethnic purity or religious purity or some kind of racial purity, right? Mm-hmm. I think we agree. White nationalists, Christian fascists, phalangists, numerous different sorts, right?
Oh, phalangists. Oh, he's gone niche. I love it.
And one of the things that they always bring up that I also personally identify as like something that could be misconstrued as me being anti-Semitic is when I called settlers in the West Bank inbred. I said these inbred settlers, and that was...
I think you compared them to the KKK as well, is that right?
Oh no, but I don't think that's anti-Semitic.
No, I'm not saying that's anti-Semitic, but I think I'm just giving the full context.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I've compared them to neo-Nazi.
To be fair, the KKK only burns crosses, whereas some of these settlers have burnt down entire churches. So, you know, just a little comparison for you there.
I mean, Itzma Yehudit is Itamar Ben-Gvir's party. It's literally called the Jewish Power Party. It's not like they're hiding that they have fascistic...
But do you think it might ever be better sometimes just to never compare any Jews to Nazis? It might just be wise to do that.
No,
What the fuck? Hang on. So, if a Jewish person does everything that a Nazi would do, you still can't point that out? Why? Why do people get special treatment based upon their ethnicity? If you're going to be a Nazi, I'm going to call you a Nazi because you're doing Nazi shit. Fuck you.
I think it's also worth pointing out, right? I don't want to get into genocide Olympics here. I don't want to somehow say that there is a really important comparison to be made because you need to be able to rank this shit, because there's no utility in doing so. I think that'd be provocative for the sake of it, right? But it is worth pointing out that the explicit way in which that Zionism manifests, especially from the right wing of Israel, right? Of course, Zionism manifests in awful ways from every wing of Israel, but specifically the incredibly belligerent way in which it does from the right wing. Like, it's not just about the desire for colonization, which is, of course, Zionism kind of writ large, but the kind of Zionism that especially the Israeli right and far right exhibit is one of deliberate militarism. It is, in fact, kind of performative militarism. It's born out of their relationship with the Holocaust. It's actually really important to understand this, in that the inner learning of the Israeli right wing and their desire for militarism is based upon the idea that, you know, historically Jewish people have been oppressed more broadly internationally wherever they have been, obviously in Europe most of all, but in other areas as well. And it's taught them that, you know, no one's going to come to save you. You have to defend yourself at all costs, and therefore you have to project strength, right? And that's kind of the basis of the ideology, and the way that it's manifested when you look at how the government operates and how politics operates in Israel is, you know, it's through ethno-nationalism. It's through the protection of the nation state and the ethnicity and the race itself over the interests of humanity.
But it goes beyond just being a matter of self-protection, because they're doing the same Lebensraum style expansionism at the cost of other people. Of course. Other than chimneys and gas chambers, they're doing the same fucking things that the Nazis did.
Well, of course, but the justification internally to the German people was that Lebensraum was for defense of the Volk, right? That was their internal justification too. Again, I think broadly that obviously the ends are awful regardless of whether it is done that way or whether it isn't. I don't really care about the motivations. I care about the results, right? It
Although-
ends with Lebensraum either way.
Although interestingly, the Germans clearly didn't need Lebensraum because they could never get more than a few thousand people to actually move into the new land.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
very-
they basically people didn't need land. They were fine just living where they were. It was fine. Like it was completely wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but as Ben points out in chat, right? Lots of these people genuinely believe that Jews who died in the Holocaust were weak, right?
Yeah,
It was their
absolutely.
weakness that led to them dying, and this is why they have this kind of macho militarism, the projection of strength. I mean, not just the projection of strength, the invocation of strength, right? We kill the people around us, we murder, we butcher the people around us because it shows that we're no longer the weak ones anymore, right? It's a real kind of pathology.
Yeah. Yes, and of course I was joking. I know the KKK were incredibly violent. I was just doing a hyperbolic, silly joke.
I'm not so precious about that comparison, and I've actually had.
But maybe that's
long,
easy
very
for you to
thoughtful
say as a
debates.
non-Jewish person.
Oh, for sure. But I'm, you know.
I mean, you can call them lots of things, Hasan. I'm just sort of trying to be as sort of generous as possible.
Well,
but you,
Can you be nice? Can you say nice words about the genocidal freaks, please? Can you do that? Can you not hurt the feelings of fucking Ben Gvir and Benjamin Netanyahu, please? They're just trying to do a bit of genocide. Why'd you have to be naughty, meanie, weenie, bobini?
That's what's so frustrating about it, right? Like tone policing during a genocide, right? There's a time and place for tone policing. Clearly now is not the case.
This
Well,
is
thank
what.
you, Sarah.
This is the. So go on. No, go on.
Like Sarah points out in chat, the muscular Judaism stuff and that kind of ideology comes from people like Max Nordau. And I didn't know who Max Nordau was until I started following more like Jewish anti-Zionists, people who literally were originally Zionists, went to university to study Zionism, and then came out of it as anti-Zionists, which is quite interesting. Like, I didn't know a lot of this stuff until I started following more Jewish creators.
But back to the kind of tone policing point. This is why liberals are so fucking pathetic. Because literally, you know, we'll all be on the fucking cattle trucks going to Nigel Farage's camp, and they'll say, but you know, Jeremy Corbyn, he was a bit of a, he didn't wear a tie that one time. If only he'd been nicer about it. And we're all fucking die. They're useless.
Yeah. A really good point from InfoSuge in chat is that most people don't know about any genocides other than the Holocaust, right? Making any comparisons, no matter how much better comparisons they are, because I actually think that Bosnia is a better comparison when it comes to the nature of Israel's genocide against the Palestinians. It's very similar to the Serb Republic, this desire for conquest of territory in terms of feeling like they had a right to the land itself, broadly like the use of starvation as a weapon of war, whereas of course there was a real the level to which the Holocaust was carried out, I think, is significantly more extreme than what we're seeing in Gaza. But the motivations, I feel, are much more similar to the Serb Republic than they are to Nazi Germany. But that's an argument that no one's going to fucking understand if you make it in a Western. Like no random person off the street is going to understand what you mean when you talk about the Serb Republic's genocide.
Yeah. And I think, oh God, this is a difficult point to have to make, but I think it's worth making if I'm going to be honest about the entire topic. There are a few uncomfortable reasons that the Holocaust is viewed in the way that it is. As you say, it's probably the only, in terms of popular consciousness, if you ask most people, it would be like the go-to genocide, right? They don't really know about Armenia or the Aboriginal peoples or fucking Manifest Destiny or whatever. Maybe in America they know about that one, but whatever. It's partly recency, of course. It happened relatively recently and it was massive. It's people still alive today that survived it and such, and indeed committed it. And I think an uncomfortable truth is that we care much more about it because it happened in a place that matters to the West, i.e. Europe, and it happened to people who are noticeably whiter. They weren't considered white by the Nazis, of course, but they're broadly considered white enough, I suppose, by the West. Whereas the people of, like, Congo, who were slaughtered by the Belgians, weren't. The Aboriginal people weren't. The Native American people weren't. The native people of South America weren't.
Well,
And
yeah,
I think that matters as well. I think that's a reason that it's able to be used by racial supremacist types, even if they are racist themselves.
I mean, I think again it is commemorized so heavily by European countries on to be able to absolve themselves of the crimes, because again, like, genocide has broadly been a very European thing to do. There's a reason when you look at places like Syria and you see huge amounts of kind of ethnic diversity. It's because in Europe all the fucking minorities got genocided.
Yeah. This is the shit tankies say. I mean, I don't care if tankies say it. I take on the argument. Like, I mean, tankies can just be right about a thing. I don't care that tankies say it. The stop clock is right twice a day, I guess.
I mean, it is also, and it's probably worth pointing out in terms of numbers, in terms of industrial and level of, as Ben points out in chat, the level to which it was industrialized makes it a significant.
Oh yeah, it's unique in terms of its method, 100%. But not in terms of its number. Nowhere near. No. In fact, the Native American peoples, they were thought to be something in the region of 200 million people in what we now know as America and Mexico. At that time, very few of whom remain.
Apparently, according to the Google AI response, that apparently in the Congolese genocide, 10 to 15 million Congolese were killed.
Yep. At the same time that the Holocaust was happening, the British government were happy to starve to death 4 million Bengalis. That's 2/3 of a Holocaust. And yet, if you ask people about the Bengal famine in Britain, none of them would know about it. I know the Jews weren't considered white by the Nazis, but they are considered white, generally speaking, by
they are now,
people.
Right? They are now. They weren't. I mean, even outside of the Nazis, they weren't considered white in Western Europe more broadly, right? The level to which the racial dynamics have changed in the
that's why
colonial era it's different, right? But even the fact they weren't considered as white is why so few countries in the kind of Western world, or why no countries in the Western world accepted Jewish refugees for so long. They weren't considered as part of the people worth defending. It was only the fucking Dominican Republic, the only country who gave kind of you've got total dispensation for Jewish refugees to come and settle, until again when things actually started to happen, and basically it was too late when Europe changed its mind.
Although interestingly, most Danish Jews survived because they were able to get over the sea on a boat to Sweden, neutral Sweden.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think it was something like 11 Danish Jews died of the 10,000 or something. Yeah. Anyway, so that. Yeah, but anyway, none of it's meant to downplay it. It should be remembered. It's just that others aren't remembered because those people aren't seen as anything.
Like the argument that we're talking about here specifically is the fact that we think all genocides are bad, right?
Yeah, genocide on any level is fucking unbelievably disgusting. It's like the worst thing that you can do.
And it's also like we don't think that the Holocaust is similar to some other genocides, but in terms of the way that it was done, the level of brutality, right? Like, it is very unique in loads of different reasons. But the reason why it is the only one that Western Europeans know in lots of cases, outside of maybe Cambodia, because again in the West they like to pretend the West weren't involved in that. People just don't know about it because other ones, because it is again they don't want to talk about all of the other ones that were committed against brown people in the global south.
Well, exactly, yeah. And that's actually, one of the reasons that the definition of genocide was kept as vague as it was in the founding documents of the United Nations. Because if you added in what was his name, the guy who coined the phrase, I forget. Anyway, he was one of the drafters of it. And they took out certain things that he wanted to have put in there, in terms of the definition of what counts as genocide. But of course, if they all put those in there, that Britain, France, the USA, the Soviet Union would all be guilty of genocide.
Yeah.
Often against their own citizens.
You could there are so many things you could call those settlers. I'm not defending those settlers for a moment. I think a lot of them are committing heinous acts. I think a lot of the people in the far right of the Netanyahu government are absolutely appalling. I would say that completely explicitly. But you know what? You could probably say all that, and you could probably make a stronger case and not undermine yourself by comparing them to Nazis because Nazis literally tried to exterminate who they are as Jews.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. The comparison,
why'd you do
in
it?
my opinion, the comparison, in my opinion, is not only graphic, but it's apt. Because Nazism is a fascist ideology. It's a dangerous fascist
Well, call them
ideology
fascists
that
then.
led
Call
to-
them fascists. You don't need to call them
led
Nazis or
well, I do that as
neo-Nazis.
well. But the reason why I specifically utilize the term, deploy the term Nazi, is because, well, two reasons. Number one, the goals of ethnic cleansing are identical, and especially considering that a genocide has unfolded at this point, a modern day genocide with different tools. It's not the same exact type of genocide as the Holocaust, of course, not the concentration camps, and yet it's an open air prison that has been bombarded with almost 10 atom bombs worth of explosive ordnance that my government, and as a matter of fact, your government has aided and abetted in the process of. And from that perspective,
To be fair, we just collected information to make them more accurately use those bombs. Just saying. Which means we're completely clean of any involvement in this whatsoever. Except, of course, every member of this government should be at The Hague. But, you know, apart from that.
the reason why I say I'm not so precious about this, while always maintaining the position that anti-Semitism is completely unacceptable, I always say I'm not precious about this because at the end
Raphael Lemkin, that was the man, yes.
of the day, it's a genocide. At the end of the day, this is an apartheid state, and Zionism as an ideology is a racist ideology, and many Jewish thinkers are now also coming to terms with that, even if they had self-identified as Zionists their entire lives. This
So
transformation
you would
has taken
compare
place
what's
for a
happened in
lot of-
Gaza to the Holocaust?
It's not to the same extent, no, but I have compared it to the Holocaust, yes. It's no different than saying these concentration camps that we have in the United States of America are turning into death camps. Fascism is not a static concept. It's an ideology. It's a very dangerous one that I oppose unconditionally across the board.
But it's not the
entire
Holocaust, is it,
purpose-
Hasan? It's not the Holocaust.
No, of
And to
course.
Right, but no two genocides are the same. And again, it's worth, I think, looking into the writings of Igor Semyonov, I think he was, a Soviet writer, a Jewish man himself, who was one of the first Soviet writers to really dig into this topic. And he actually served and he liberated many of the camps himself. And he wrote about the Shoah by bullets and the Shoah by gas, essentially splitting the Holocaust into two separate things. In the first section of the Holocaust, the killers went to the victims and purposely killed them and put them in big pits and so on and so forth. And the Shoah by gas, the victims were sent to the killers in the concentration camps and such. Essentially what we are seeing is the Shoah by bullets. That's precisely what is now taking place in Gaza and has been for the last, well, a long time, but especially the last 3 years. It's the Shoah by bullets. They're murdering Palestinians in vast numbers. They're ethnically displacing and driving them out.
I think this is why I make the comparison with Bosnia, because again, I think the motivations of the Serb Republic in Israel in terms of their desire for Lebensraum and the way in which that they have conducted their genocide and their ethnic cleansing was because it was about territory, right? It was about
yeah.
their desire for the land. It was about what they felt like they were owed, what they felt like was rightfully theirs. And of course, there was the breakup of Yugoslavia that allowed it to be, contested territory at the time, right? And Bosnians were a problem because they were getting in the way. And that's always been the problem for Israel, right? The problem for Israel has always been that Palestinians, whilst I think there is ethnic supremacy there, of course, they feel like they're entitled to the land because of their supremacist ideology in Israel. Like that's what Zionism teaches them. When it comes to the desire to ethnically cleanse Palestinians and to kill Palestinians, it's not because they specifically want to make sure that they all die, which of course was what the Nazis wanted, right? They actually wanted to, extermination was the end goal.
Yeah.
When it comes to Zionism, when it comes to Netanyahu, when it comes to the ideology of especially the Israeli right and the Israeli far right, they want to have access to Judea and Samaria. They want to be a demographic majority, and they will go to whichever ends it is necessary to achieve that end goal. If it means killing them all, sure, we'll kill them all. If it means displacing them all, it means displacing them all. If it means creating people who are locked away in an open air prison that is technically not Israel proper, but it might as well be Israel proper without making them citizens, and that's good too. Right? Any of these things are solutions for the end goal of making sure that the historical land of Judea and Samaria is under Israeli control as the nation state of Israel, right? In the same way that the Serb Republic wanted all of, what is now Bosnia and Herzegovina. They're not the same, I think, in terms of the driving goal, which again, with the Nazis, it was they wanted all of these people dead. That was why they created industrial slaughterhouses rather than, engineered, whereas both the Serb Republic's army and the IDF have created a life that is unlivable, to either force them to die or to leave.
Yeah.
Compare it to. I think the thing about you is you speak compellingly about many things, but you undermine your case and you open yourself to the accusation, which might not be unreasonable, of anti-Semitism.
No, it is unreasonable. And,
It is, yeah.
And secondly, like again, you're just doing the. Oh, can you make nicer words to describe the genocide, please? To which I say, grow the fuck up. We're not talking about a fucking tea party here. We're not talking about something nice and fluffy. We're talking about people being slaughtered on a huge scale. If you can't put up with the hurty words, get out of the hurty kitchen. That doesn't really make sense. But basically,
Don't be a fucking political commentator. Don't be a journalist.
Yeah.
If you can't take harsh words, right?
exactly, yeah.
By making these comparisons between what the Israeli government is doing, and let's be honest, Jews and Nazis and things they did in the Holocaust, because however heinous we might find what has happened in Gaza, and many of my listeners and viewers would, it is still not the same as the mass extermination and the ritualistic extermination of people which happened on a daily basis during the Holocaust. So why compare the two things?
Because I don't want it to get to the Holocaust. And this is the best part of this conversation, and I love having this conversation, because Holocaust studies are profoundly important. But they're not profoundly important so that we can understand what took place and then assume that it's never going to happen again. The entire point of genocide scholarship and specifically scholarship surrounding the Holocaust is so that we understand exactly how society can move in that direction, and how so many otherwise kind people, I assume, can turn a blind eye to the atrocities that are unfolding.
And actually, if you want a perfect dissection of this, look into the works of Hannah Arendt, who was a Jewish writer in the 60s, who wrote some very controversial stuff because it was brutally honest about the way in which this operated. She wrote a book called The Banality of Evil, which has been misunderstood in many respects. It's not about just, it's bureaucracy. It's the fact that bureaucratization of slaughter relieves the individual of the guilt of making decisions. Because she literally said she interviewed Adolf Eichmann, literally the fucking head bureaucrat of the Holocaust, right? Who escaped to Argentina, and then the Mossad found him and brought him to Israel in 1960, and eventually hung him because he was, guilty of genocide. And she interviewed him while he was in prison, and she literally said, like, he didn't seem inspired by hatred at all. He was given a task to perform. And any guilt that he may have felt was completely removed from him in his own mind because he was just filling in paperwork.
Yep,
That was it.
I mean, this is a really good video by Tom Nicholas about this. I highly recommend watching it.
So that we understand what took place and never allow it to happen again. So my point is, I think the final solution for Israel has not been achieved yet, right? But this would be not dissimilar to, I guess, a communist or a socialist in Nazi Germany before the final solution, pointing to the Armenian genocide.
Given the Israelis, given the military capabilities that Israel has, if they wanted to commit a Holocaust against Palestinians, they could do so. They haven't done so. They may have acted in a way that is dehumanizing. In fact, they have. They may have acted in a way without proper regard for Palestinian life. I think they have. Lots of people would agree that they have. But to compare it to the Holocaust...
The disagreement...
Just, apologies to interject here. Maria, I've always appreciated your contributions to chat, but if you keep screaming in chat, I will have to mute you and then eventually get rid of you. Like, you're disrupting people. Just chill the fuck out.
What's going on?
There's a disagreement about the way in which I may have worded something, or maybe whatever. Like, you've said your piece. Chill.
that we have is not that...
My suggestion to you would be that it is crass and offensive
Hang
to
a minute.
compare the only
What?
Israeli Jewish...
Go back a second. What happened there?
But to compare it to the Holocaust...
The disagreement that we have is not that...
My suggestion to you would be that it is crass and offensive.
What happened there?
Have they cut something out? Hang on, we'll go back again.
Well, be...
have is not that...
My suggestion to you would be...
Oh, hello. What happened there?
The liar broadcasting conversation.
That it is crass and offensive to compare the only Jewish state in the world, and we should, of course,
Well, I don't give a fuck about what a state claims to be. I don't accept the religiosity of a state.
No.
I don't give a
fine.
fuck. I just don't. I don't care about the Islamic Republic of Iran. I care about the people of Iran. That's it. Like, you can claim that your country is religious. We officially have a state religion here. And yet, can you name anyone who goes to a C of E church regularly?
Commie Christian in
Of course, be
chat.
careful
No,
of-
I don't think Commie Christian is a CFE, but
Well, yeah.
eliding Israel and Judaism, of course, but it is the only Jewish state in the world, mainly comprised of Jews, comparing them to Nazis, given that Nazis
Well, I don't think he's saying every Israeli is a Nazi. Because that would be wrong. And probably a little bit anti-Semitic, yes.
literally tried to exterminate this entire race and came very close to succeeding. You don't need to do that, you shouldn't do it, and it's crassly and grossly offensive for you to do so.
Yeah, I don't mind coming across as vulgar or offensive in this regard, and maybe even hurting some people's feelings, because at the end of the day, the analysis here from my end is there is a genocide that has taken place, and it's continuing to a certain degree. I mean, even in the process of this so-called ceasefire, Israel has also killed approximately 4,000 people in Lebanon. The expansion in the Greater Israel Project is continuing, so the ideology is still unimpeded.
Yeah, they literally just announced that they're going to take 70% more of Gaza and the West. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. They've just cleared out parts of southern Lebanon, which they'll definitely give them back, honest.
yeah, just like they were going to give back the Shabar farms and the Golan Heights and whatever else they've gone into Syria further than that.
Yeah.
The the guiding principle is still unimpeded, and therefore, I find that to be far
I suppose what I'm getting at.
Far more offensive than the language that I'm using,
Sure.
especially considering that I think at this stage there are a lot of people who want to maybe hold on to some kind of defense of Israel because they understand it to be like you just said, the Jewish nation, the only Jewish nation. I have been unbelievably critical of Saudi Arabia and every other country that has participated in the blockade of Yemen, for example. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia did that with our weapons once again.
The other reason
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm being told by... apologies, I'm going to butcher this. Maya Koyamada, possibly. The LBC heavily edited it, including lowering the volume of Hasan's mic during some of the crosstalk segments.
I mean, if you go back 5 seconds, I think they literally just did this here too.
Did Hasan record? I hope Hasan recorded it so we can see the unredacted version.
Probably
Yeah.
critical of Saudi Arabia and every other country that has participated in the blockade of Yemen, for example. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia did that with our weapons once again.
the other reason
Okay.
that other people might say that it's a
Yeah, that's a definite cut. Because why would he say yeah like that? That's they cut
Exactly.
that. They cut that. I don't know what they cut out. Like in theory, we could be generous and say they're just cutting out meaningless fluff or a technical problem. But considering he's going, well, Israel and Saudi Arabia are kind of shit guys, and then they cut it. Like, okay.
Yeah, weird. As soon as he gets to like the as soon as he gets the commentary around what's happening in terms of the power struggle on the Horn of Africa between the Saudi government and the UAE, and then that being kind of filtered through Yemen and like the Shia-Sunni conflict there as well, weird as it all gets cut out. That's very strange, and which is confirmed by May Cherry Blossoms in chat that they did indeed heavily edit it.
Oh my god. Free and open conversation on LBC. Asterix.
Legions Britain
defensive
censorship.
deeply offensive to compare them to the Nazis is however disproportionate we might think the Israeli government has been in the reaction to October the 7th, and I would agree with you that it has been disproportionate and in many cases appalling. October the 7th did happen. 1,300 Jews were killed in the most horrendous, heinous way.
Okay. And? Like, yeah, that's really terrible. I don't know what that... Did the hospital in Gaza had to be firebombed for? I don't get... At this point, you can only see so much slaughter before you're like, I don't give two fucks about some shit that happened 3 years ago.
Oh, well, yeah, well, Lon Nol killed a bunch of communists in 1975. Clearly, this justifies the Khmer Rouge's actions. Clearly, this justifies the Cambodian genocide in response because Lon Nol did some bad things.
Like, and it sounds heartless, but I don't fucking care anymore. I'm sick of the bullshit. You can't be simultaneously bombing to fuck a group of people who can't fucking defend themselves, and then play the victim. You're not the fucking victim. And also, dickhead, a lot of those people were IDF, so they're not fucking victims as far as I'm concerned. And secondly, many of the people were killed by Israeli fire anyway. But no, tell us more about titty football. For fuck's sake. I know apparently he didn't film the thing, which is, yeah, is disappointing. But there we go. I'd like to have seen firsthand like what the dishonesty of LBC was, because I'd have definitely watched the entire thing through just to see which bit they cut out.
Way that we might imagine. It was a pogrom. There is a major security problem for the state of Israel with Hamas and with Hezbollah. They do have to protect their own citizens and their own people.
Right, and they don't. This is the thing. They keep saying, well, Israel's the only place where Jews can go. Really? Because you don't seem to protect them very well. In fact, you literally have the Hannibal Directive, which says that if it's convenient for the Israeli state, they'll fucking murder you. So they don't
Also,
protect Jewish people at all.
Also worth pointing out when he says that they have security problems from Hezbollah and Hamas. And I thought, well, Hamas filtered through to Hamas via Qatar deliberately to try and make sure there was a split between the PA in the West Bank and Hamas control of Gaza, right? He specifically allowed this money to get filtered through so that he could make sure there wasn't any unity between both of the different exclaves of Palestine. Because again, for first and foremost, his ideology was to prevent a Palestinian state rather than protect Israelis, right? Any Israeli casualties are necessary in the acquisition of the territory to create the state that he wants, right? That's his driving ideological position, which meant that, funding Hamas is just what it's worth doing so. Again, the reason why so many died on October the 7th is because IDF were busy doing pogroms themselves in the West Bank. They were busy protecting settlers in the West Bank, right? That's why he took his eye off the ball and why the IDF was so slow to respond. They were all literally engaging in fucking colonization in the West Bank, because again, that's what he cares about, getting control of the territory. That's what Netanyahu always has done so, which is why they're in that position. And then when it comes to Hezbollah, they are a natural reaction to Israeli colonization of South Lebanon. If they hadn't deliberately gone into South Lebanon on the justification of eradicating members of the PLO, when even internally they were briefing to each other, we have classified documents now that have been declassified, showing that they made up a bunch of reasons to invade South Lebanon, which then created Hezbollah as a blowback to their imperial desires from their conquest of South Lebanon. These are problems they've created themselves through their colonial desires, right?
Yeah. You made some very good points there, but LBC just cut that bit, so people won't hear it. Yeah.
And to
Yeah, I
compare
think
that to the Holocaust,
the
the
greatest way to
Holocaust,
do
the
that would be
Nazis
to
weren't.
end
The Nazis
occupation.
weren't. So to compare them to the Nazis weren't provoked by Jews into the Holocaust.
They did say that they were, to be fair. Like, they did literally claim that was the case. The Jews were undermining the Aryans. This was a self-defensive process. It's the same bullshit. Now, it's wrong in both cases.
Yeah, and there wasn't there hasn't been like a paramilitary group that has continually launched like Jewish rockets into Nazi Germany. That's a thing. They were a peaceful civilian. They were peaceful civilians in Germany that were industrially executed on the grounds of being the wrong race, right? Whereas Palestinians did attack Israel, which gave them the cloud of justification for their actions.
Well, yeah, but
right?
but the Nazis claimed absurd shit like Jewish
True.
Jewish bankers impoverished Germans that starved to death.
They were trying to spread Marxism to undermine the West and collapse the Volk, right?
Yeah. It's the same basic fucking ethnic supremacist bullshit. But anyway, I mean, it's pointless arguing the case because you just end up fucking, like you say, getting into kind of weird genocide Olympics type shit, and there's no point to it.
Well, again, yeah, that's exactly right. Like, again, genocide Olympics is the correct term because that's how we're talking about it. Like we can't compare these things because you have to be able to rank these. I'm like, people need to understand the context. People mostly only know one genocide, and therefore you have to make comparisons people understand.
There was no security problem for the Nazis, and so to combine and compare and allied those things is not
This
just
is
offensive and
categorically
wrong,
false.
it's just crazy.
No, your analysis is actually ahistorical and unfortunately categorically false. Of
Which bit?
course, the Nazis lied about not only Jews but socialists, communists, trade unionists alike.
They were never attacked by Jews.
Presented
Slavs
yes,
and
of course.
Sinti.
They presented an argument as to why they must do this, why they must depose and take care of all of these nefarious elements within German society broadly, while they were also carrying out the greater Germany project for.
That's literally why they called it the Jewish question. It was the concept of Jewish people not being a part of the Volk bullshit, and so what was the actual way in which they would solve that problem? And there were like more peaceable plans, like the Madagascar thing, which is still ethnic cleansing and genocide, of course, but wouldn't have involved direct slaughter. But eventually, again, as is always the case, it doesn't matter how bad you make life for people, some people won't leave.
Yeah.
Like, they just won't fucking leave. Understandably, they shouldn't have to fucking leave. And so eventually, the quote-unquote peaceful ethnic cleansing never stays peaceful. It can't.
Living room purposes, right? Not dissimilar to the Israeli Zionist expansion. But the point is, do you agree with the propaganda or the arguments? Do I agree with the Nazi argument that
October the 7th
Jews
wasn't
were the enemy?
propaganda, it
Of
happened.
course not. I don't agree with the notion that Palestinians,
Right, but neither was October the 7th an existential threat to the Israeli state. It was murderous and terrible, but were they going to march on Jerusalem or Tel Aviv and depose the Israeli government? No. It was.
It was terrorism. Like I mean,
It was
they deliberately-
terrorism and awful
Yeah.
and shit. But like, it wasn't a threat to Israel.
No, well, yeah, that's the thing. Is Hamas never have been. Like
Yeah.
one of the things you always hear is, oh well, Hamas are launching rockets into Israel. They've literally killed nobody. No one has died to a Qassam rocket ever. Again, it's as far as Israel looking, that is a nuisance rather than a real problem. Which is again why October the 7th was this huge problem, was because Hamas were always perceived to be a paper tiger for so long because Israel managed to put down Hamas's actions so easily.
Yeah.
Up until October the 7th. And again, which is why Netanyahu responded in the way that he did, was because he had staked his political claims in Israel upon his position as being militaristic in terms of defending Israel, right? We need to be this militaristic. It's the only way we keep you safe. And in reality, it was his actions that made them the least safe they've ever been.
Literally, yeah. Thank you to Kanan for subscribing, new subscriber with Prime. Much love to you. And thank you, My Left Eye. Everyone go and follow My Left Eye. Raiders, I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. Hit the subscribe button and all that shit. I'm here with, let's say, Zach Polanski's best friend. I think that's fair. I don't think I'm over egging the pudding there at all. No Justice MTJ. Yes. Yeah, you make a good point. Modern art was considered a Jewish plot, yeah. They literally had what they call degenerate art shows, where they had like the kind of modern artist. Hang on, sorry. What they had like modern art on display, and it was always like held in a terrible, dank little cellar and stuff. And it was enormously popular because it was all the modern art that people actually wanted to go and fucking see. And then they had all this like good, solid German art, and no one went to see it. And it was so embarrassing they stopped doing it because it was a propaganda catastrophe for them. Because it just showed that people weren't interested in the boring shit art that Hitler and his people liked. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, literally, yeah. They called them degenerate art shows and they were incredibly popular.
the indigenous population, predating 1948, could not potentially live alongside migrant Jews that were coming in. Specifically as a
What about
colonialist
Hamas?
movement.
What about living next to Hamas, an organization which is dedicated to the destruction of Israel?
That's a great. I'm going to get to Hamas as well. So the reason why I brought that up is because this is
Well, do you condemn Hamas and Hassan Piker? The two exactly the same thing. I do. I don't know about you.
been a racist ideology since
Sometimes
1948, or
maybe
even
good,
prior to
sometimes
1948,
maybe shit.
that has had a lot of opposition from Jews as well. The initial the original the only Jewish member in the British Parliament that the only member of the British Parliament that opposed the Balfour Declaration was, you know, a
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Simply to try and this initiative was being taken. This initiative was being implemented exclusively to depose the Jews, to deport Jews from British soil.
And that's one of the reasons that Jewish people, a lot of Jewish people up until the Holocaust, despised Zionism. Because essentially it was agreeing with the racists. The Jews of every country were saying, like, I'm a British person. He's also Jewish, but they're a British Jew. And a Polish Jew would say that they were Polish, etc., etc. Whereas the Zionists were saying, alongside the racist, no, you're not really this thing, you're Jewish. And separate. And we should all leave and go and do our own thing.
Yeah, and on top of this, like, it's just like a correct analysis. That was the reason why the Balfour Declaration was signed. Like, Arthur Balfour was a massive anti-Semite who wanted Jews out of Britain. That's just a fact. He did want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So throughout this entire history of Israel and Palestine, this conflict gets reduced to an ethnic conflict or a religious conflict. It's not true. It's simply settler colonial expansion. And of course, there's going to be militant opposition towards that. And that militant opposition is, of course, going to evolve over time. So the idea...
But we are where we are, aren't we?
How can...
We're not in 1948. And so therefore, Israel has got to find a way to live alongside the Palestinian people. You and I, I'm sure, would...
Okay, but the Zionist government has made it their absolute goal to never do that. Like, literally, even Trump's shitty attempts at trying to foster some kind of stability in that region now, Israel's just like, nah, bruv. Nah, we're just going to bomb. Just fuck it. You can sign a fucking a little armistice if all you like. We're just going to bomb the fuck out of Beirut. I don't give a shit.
And now Iran is striking back. You see Iran launched ballistic missiles at
Well, that's the thing.
northern
But
Israel.
it's literally the right of any nation to defend itself when attacked. It literally is. Like, it's so bizarre to me that people can understand perfectly well and support the defense of Ukraine by the Ukrainians against the unlawful invasion of their territory, and yet they can't understand the Palestinian people wanting to have exactly the same reaction to the exact same thing. You know, like it's almost as if people who are perceived as white or white enough have certain rights that those that are brown don't.
Both agree to say that their actions have not exactly contributed to that principle or idea in recent years, but they do have to deal with Hamas. And how do they deal with Hamas, which is literally predicated? You say that Israel is racist, it's based on a racist idea. Hamas is deeply racist. They're anti-Jewish.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think?
I disagree with
well,
that.
the Hamas Charter contains references to fighting Jews as a religious duty, conspiracy claims about Jews controlling the media, finance, revolutions and wars, citations of anti-Semitic forgery in the protocols of the Elders of Zion,
Yes,
and a
you're
notorious
referencing
hadith
you're
about Muslim
referencing
fighting and
the
killing Jews
1988
before
Charter
Judgment
of-
Day.
So you're referencing the 1988 charter,
Yeah, I am.
which has been updated since 2017, but it doesn't really matter because the point of
think
the
Hamas
charter
likes Jews.
or their opinions. Do I think Hamas likes Jews? I think that there are definitely anti-Semitic people in Palestinian society as there are in British society, right?
There aren't
What we
anti-Semitic
have to look
people
at
in
is
British
this.
society killing Jews on a
What
regular
we-
basis.
It's because there is no real occupation. There's no military occupation of England. If there was a military occupation,
Not true. There are loads of US bases.
True.
Just saying. Thank you to I've had several people. You're all very generous. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you. Someone did 10. Where's the 10? Thank you. Oh my good lord, what the fuck is that? Nola. Oh, for fuck's. I'm gonna call you Nola because I can't read that fucking name. Thank you for 10 gifties. I will be your getaway driver for if you do a bank job or something. Yeah, that'll do.
of England by a foreign body, by an alien force, then I'm pretty sure you would probably rise up in arms as well. And this is not just a principle.
You don't know the British people. The only the only time we get fucking worked up about some shit is if there's like a slight fluctuation in the oil prices and all of a sudden toilet paper's more expensive than gold. Like, come on now, don't be silly.
That I'm coming up with as a campus or someone who opposes.
Like, literally, if Britain was to do a fucking a revolution, we'd form a queue to join the revolution. Do you know what I mean?
imperialism. It's not pure idealism. This is something that former heads of Shin Bet have also acknowledged personally. I mean, this is something that former heads of the Israeli state have acknowledged, saying, if I was on the other side of this boundary, I would become a terrorist as well. And it's perfectly understandable that people would oppose 80 years of militant occupation.
No, I realise your name's Irish. It's just, A, I'm quite tired. B, I'm a bit fucking blind. And C, the writing's quite small and far away. So unless it's like capitalised, which yours isn't, it's all lowercase, I can't really read it very well. So I'll just call you Nola. It's the first few letters that I could actually make out. Apologies. If you want me to call you something else, please specify. As long as it's not weird. Actually, especially if it's weird.
Militant racist occupation, humiliation, and subjugation. And to go back to the point that you were making about, like, there was no resistance from Jewish partisans. This is also not true. Jewish partisans engaged in incredibly honest and incredibly moral acts of violence that was necessary at the time against key Nazi officials, including an uprising known as the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising.
The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, if you get a chance, it's brutal and heartbreaking in many respects, but it's also gives you hope for humanity, because even in the darkest circumstances, people can show incredible bravery and fortitude, and like literally the army that had rolled over the entirety of Europe were held in place for like nearly 2 months by a group of a few dozen absolute psychopaths. It was amazing shit, genuinely spectacular levels of resistance. Wonderful to say.
No, it reminds me again of just how much the bravery and of course the success of the partisans in Yugoslavia as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Ragtag bunch of people coming together from different ethnicities who believed in kind of the unity of the South Slavs, who came together to defeat the Nazis, with of course help from with British military support, right? But even so, what is interesting is that they were such good fighters that it was Churchill's decision himself to change the British government, the British military backing from the Chetniks to the partisans.
I told you this.
Well, I knew that, but I didn't know that you said the quote about even if Satan wanted to take up arms against the Nazis, you'd invite the.
He would, yeah, he literally said when he was asked why he was funding why he was arming the communists as a fervent anti-communist his entire life.
Yeah.
He said because they fight. He said if hell itself would declare war on Nazi Germany, I would have no compunction in speaking positively of Satan in the House of Commons. Which is probably the most metal as fuck way of saying anything about the House of Commons ever.
Literally. Also, as Edward points out, there was an armed breakout from the concentration camp in Sobibor too, which is something I didn't know. An interesting fact, yeah.
Well, I mean, literally, the reason that Auschwitz stopped being able to function properly is because the Sonderkommando, who were Jewish people given certain privileges to do the really nasty shit, like pulling bodies out of the gas chambers and stuff, and they were allowed to live for a little bit. They got chemicals from the IG Farben chemical plant, smuggled into the plant, and they blew up the crematoria, committing suicide. Like it was a suicide bombing essentially of the crematoria to kill her, to destroy her, and it saved probably 50,000 lives, maybe 100,000. Who knows? It's incredibly brave.
And that was perfectly valid. It was perfectly morally just, even though there were heinous acts of violence that took place. History is riddled with colonial occupants and even slaves, for example.
You've been reported as saying
in chattel slavery, engaging in heinous acts of violence that we would oppose at the time that ultimately lead to liberation. And once the dust is settled, we look back.
What does liberation look like? What does liberation look like? Is it the Israeli state collapsing, or what does it look like?
Great question. So from my perspective, and I'm not Palestinian, right? So I think ultimately this is something that is that should be left to the people that are being occupied to come to terms with. But from my estimation, I agree with the likes of Avi Shlaim, famous Iraqi Jewish Israeli historian, that a abolition of the apartheid state that currently exists and the end of the occupation must take place. Some people believe in a binational commitment. I think that's perfectly valid. Some people claim that a two-state is viable. I don't necessarily believe that a two-state with the 67 boundaries is viable because of the fact that since the so-called peace process since the 90s, Israel has deliberately extended the settlement operations in the West Bank, and now the number of Jewish settlers
Would you accept
that are
something the Israeli government have long wanted, and for understandable reasons, is that Hamas would de-arm, would demilitarize as an exchange for any deal? Do you think that would be?
Well, it would be good if the Israeli government hadn't allowed funds to be sloshed into the hands of them to fund them and arm them in the first place.
Quite.
Would be good, you know.
A reasonable request that Hamas would lay down their weapons.
I think that it's perfectly reasonable for a two-state solution, if that's what the suggestion is, a two-state solution where one of the two states is still going to have a standing military. Will that be Hamas as a political organization, or will that be the Palestinian National Forces? I do not know. But ultimately, of course, if there is a sovereign state, a sovereign Palestinian state, of course they're going to have a standing military. It doesn't have to be Hamas. I'm not married to the idea. I don't necessarily care. To me, Hamas is simply a one of the many different Palestinian resistance groups that has existed throughout time. I don't agree with their domestic policies, but I feel like that is utterly immaterial because the conversation that we're having is about ending the occupation, and Hamas ultimately wants to end the occupation. Hamas would never exist and certainly would not be as violent as it has been if there hadn't been, 80 years of occupation prior. Hamas, we were talking about the charter in 1988. That charter was written when Hamas wasn't even an actual political organization, but a Muslim Brotherhood cutout that was an Islamic charity that was even getting funds from the Israeli government, as a matter of fact.
I'm thinking about the reasons why it might be that the Home Office has banned you. And I certainly, for the record, by the way, I don't think you...
This conversation is probably part of it, don't you think?
Well, that's what I want to discuss. And for the record, when I've tweeted out this week, I think ridiculous that you've been banned. I think that, and so on. But let's think about the Home Office's justification, what it might be. I mean, is it true that you said that you considered Hamas to be 1,000 times better than Israel and you'd vote for Hamas over Israel every single time? Is that true and you stand by it?
Yeah, I do.
That's despite the fact that Hamas was responsible for October the 7th and a pogrom against Jewish people. You said you'd vote for them 1,000 times over the democratic state of Israel.
People. It wasn't a
Democratic, you say? Sure about that?
Well, again, like it's so fun to talk about the only democracy in the Middle East. I mean, democracy for who, though, right?
Yeah, not sure about that one, bro. Yeah. But like if what happened on October the 7th is a pogrom, then what the fuck is what's happened since then been? Like a super mega pogrom? I don't know.
Pogrom against Jewish people. Were there atrocities and war crimes?
You don't think that there was any anti-Semitism involved in it?
Absolutely.
This is where you go wrong, Hasan. You find yourself basically in a...
You use the hurty words. You fucking pathetic liberal cock. Fuck off.
What is frustrating, right, is that I don't really have any problem calling Hamas anti-Semitic for obvious reasons, right? But like, the material relationship here is what's important. They would resist their occupiers regardless of their ethnicity or religion, right? Yeah. But when the specific state that is occupying you is doing so specifically on ethnic or ethno-religious grounds, it is obviously stands to reason that the response would be hatred of those grounds, right?
Yeah.
It stands to reason that would be the case. Is it justifiable? No. Is it defensible? No. Is it obvious why it's happened? Of course it is, But even then, people will say you can't, if you defend Hamas, then that makes you anti-Semitic. I mean, it might make you pro-terrorist, right? It might send you to prison for supporting a prescribed terrorist group, which I obviously don't do. But is it anti-Semitic? Just because it happens to be that this anti-occupying force, right, this militia that has come into existence as a material response to occupation is being supported in its desire to do so by people who do support them because of the specific nature of the fact that Israel is Jewish? Well, no, it's about the state of the colonization, right? Like, it's not. I wouldn't call. Like, is it being motivated by animus towards Jews as a race out of fucking nowhere? No, like.
There's only one anti-Semitic terrorist group, isn't there?
Palestine Action.
Palestine Action, yeah. Not the was it the Maniac Murder Cult? Or what was it, the Russian imperialist movement? Because all of these are the same, you understand.
No,
defending elements of this.
Why I'm wrong?
I'm telling you why you're wrong, because you're honestly saying you saw Jewish people, overwhelmingly Jewish people killed that day. It was a pogrom. It was the biggest pogrom of Jews that we've seen, against Jews that we've seen since the end of the Second World War. Why do you find yourself in a position where you're like, okay, I'm actually going to defend that principle, I'm going to defend the argument about that? Why? You just undermine yourself.
Great question. I actually gave an interview to the Times UK on this as well, and I'll explain exactly why.
Jeez.
So October 7th was traumatic. There were heinous acts of violence that took place. No doubt about it. I would never agree again. I mean, I would never disagree with that assessment. What I will disagree with, however, is the intentionality. The idea that October 7 was done specifically to kill as many Jewish people as possible, I think, is incorrect. I think the
killed
ultimate goal of the
1,300.
Palestinian resistance, whether we agree with their methods or tactics or not, and I certainly
This is so pathetic. Oh, they killed 1,300. How many is Israel killed? If it's about numbers, then what Israel is doing is like a super mega fucking big Chungus genocide. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, the issue again is that I think Hasan is wrong here. Like when you actually look at the Al Qassam Brigade's military strategy documents, yes, this is on the website, right? It did show that they had a desire to kill lots of people deliberately. Again, they were engaging in an act of terror which involved killing as many people as possible. Like they even directed themselves to attack Israeli military installations, not because they wanted to use that thing as a way of being able to break the siege of Gaza or to be able to break the occupation of Gaza, right? They were attacking the military installations to prevent them from stopping them doing the killing of civilians that they were doing, right? I don't think Hassan's metric here is justified. I don't think that's correct. I don't think that he's correct in his assessment here. But again, as you say, if it's about numbers, right? If it's about numbers, then the original statement with the discussion is coming from about who's better, Israel or Hamas, then you get where Hassan's coming from in terms of his discussion.
Yeah. Someone with an amazing comment there. Hasan is Mr. Bean maxing with that suit.
True.
It is a bit Bean.
have my disagreements. The ultimate goal of the
Have your
Palestinian
disagreements? They
resistance
killed
wasn't just Hamas.
1,300 people and raped
Yeah,
people.
of course.
Killed innocent young people at music festivals.
But the ultimate goal is to make the occupation as costly as possible, because the extended 80-year, or at the time 75-year occupation had done October 7's.
So the ends justify the means, do they? The ends justify the means. If I can compare it to something in the UK, Hasan.
The reason why I don't believe that the Israeli ends justify the means, and that's precisely the reason why I'm saying.
So why do you then say that Hamas is 1,000 times
Here's
better
why.
than Israel?
Because Israel has done an October 7 1,000 times over to the Palestinian population. The civilian casualty.
They often tell
armed
people where
enemy
they're going to
combatant
bomb. I'm not
ratio,
defending
the civilian
Israel. I'm not
casualty to
defending
armed-
Israel. Hasan.
Yes, you are.
Well, the IRA told people where they were going to bomb.
What, the Inflation Reduction Act? Well,
But I think that a lot of
No,
people,
you're
if you
not
look at the
defending
facts,
Israel,
that's
but
crazy.
But that's the point I'm driving home, and this is the reason why I have this conversation, because a lot of people have
the thing is, he is defending Israel. The liberal bullshit of wasting everyone's fucking time and energy with this tone policing fucking woke scold shit is precisely the thin end of the Hasbro wedge. It's the most liberal of the liberal Zionist defences of Israel. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you even notice it or not, it is precisely that.
Social conditioning, this kind of hang-up where they don't want to analyze the situation in an effort to actually make sure that there's no more violence. I abhor violence.
No, just don't minimize October
anti-violence.
7th. I mean, to compare it,
minimization.
to compare it to, say, a British context, you could have absolutely said, and I'm sure you would be in this position, you could say, look, I have complete solidarity with the Irish Republican cause. But you don't need to have solidarity with the Irish Republican Army and what they did against the UK, killing innocent civilians.
I don't need the call out of my family members. Thank you very much.
But even then, the analysis here is not that the IRA were good or that Hamas are good. No one's saying that that's the case. They were a natural reaction to the evils of occupation.
Yeah.
They are material responses to occupation, right? Doesn't make them good, doesn't make them just, doesn't make them morally or ethically correct. What it does do is explain how blowback works. It explains that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You know?
Well, exactly, and this is where and I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned this yet, but when Hasan said the infamous phrase "America deserved 9/11," the point.
I want to get onto it.
I'd be surprised if they didn't, but he seems so fucking set on this weird anti-Semitism thing. But whatever. The point that Hasan was making in that, albeit worded pretty badly, was that if you go around fucking with other people's countries for decades and decades on end and funding terrorist organisations because they're your friends for the time being, as with Al Qaeda, yeah,
and the Mujahideen, the Taliban, right?
The brave fighters of the Mujahideen, yes. If you keep doing that, you're creating monsters that will come back to fuck you up. It literally, I always bring people back to Frankenstein, because people have this kind of Hollywood version, but actually go and read the book Actually go and read it, because the whole point is that he creates the monster that he can't escape. He literally goes to live in the fucking Arctic, where he thinks the monster can't get him, and it does. If you create the monster, it will fuck you up. Okay? Don't create the monster. It's fine. Yeah, that's the sorry. My I think probably the most poncy thing I say, but it's still true. Was it that knowledge is knowing that Frankenstein was the monster. Right. Knowledge is knowing that Frankenstein wasn't the monster. Wisdom is understanding that Frankenstein was the monster.
True.
There you go. See, I'm a pretentious cunt too.
It is possible to have both thoughts in your head at the same time. You can have complete solidarity with the Palestinian people without defending Hamas
I have
a single bit.
with-
And you do defend Hamas, and that's what's objectionable about your point.
I defend anti-colonial resistance movements when there are aspects of their anti-colonial resistance or their ideology.
There's nothing to
or
defend. They kill innocent
their
people.
overarching
There's nothing to
goals
defend.
that
A lot of
I don't find
Palestinians
to be
don't defend them either.
objectionable.
They hate them because they can kill
Okay, well,
innocent kids.
The question is this, right? The question.
Well, we'd have definitive knowledge of how the Palestinian people felt if there'd been an election at any point. If democracy had been allowed in that place, perhaps.
What's interesting is actually, since October the 7th, Hamas have increased their support in the West Bank, but their support in the Gaza Strip has actually collapsed, which I think is quite... It's interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder why.
I'm just gonna pop to the loo, by the way. I'll still be listening in if you want to keep watching, by the way. But
Fair enough, I shall do.
The question I would present to you is this. Do you think that the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was a condemnable act by Jewish partisans that got together and organized to fight
I don't think
back?
the situations are the same. No, because
Wait, why not? At that point, the
because at
Holocaust
that
had
point-
not been completely implemented.
Oh, but Kristallnacht had systemic destruction of Jewish people. They
Okay.
were all being rounded up into
75
ghettos.
so
And
wait,
I'm
hold
not
on.
saying,
So
Hasan, of
75
course.
And, like, how is that vastly different than what has been happening to the Palestinian people? Like, not only has Kristallnacht happened, but satellite images of the West Bank? Sorry, of the Gaza Strip? Like, it's destroyed. It functionally doesn't really exist.
Years of apartheid,
And I
75
don't-
years of apartheid,
and I
the
do not
maintenance of
for a
that
single
apartheid
second.
wasn't as violent.
I do not
Of course it was as violent.
I do not for a single second. And by the way, let's talk about the Warsaw Ghetto. That way they were attacking SS officers. They were attacking their oppressors, not kids
Yes.
at
Okay.
music festivals.
I don't disagree with you as far as the targeting of civilians. I'm simply stating, and there are condemnable actions which I have condemned. What I'm simply stating is the principle overall of the end to the occupation and militant resistance in an effort to create an end to the occupation is literally a fundamental aspect of every successful liberation movement. So when I actually criticize, when I actually analyze the actions taken by not only Hamas but also Hezbollah right now, for example, because Lebanon is currently being pummeled by Israel once again, I place the emphasis on the colonial occupant. I place the emphasis on the foreign occupying power because they hold all the cards.
Look, I get everything you're saying, Hasan, but you know, when you say that Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel, I mean, let's leave aside the fact that Israel, whatever we think about it, is a democratic state, admittedly one that's been...
Not really. Does it have equal rights for all of its citizens? No, it does not. It is an apartheid state. De facto, it is not actually democratic.
going down a more authoritarian direction. You say you'd vote
I mean,
for...
it's democratically in favor of genocide and apartheid. So
It's
like,
also got Arab Israelis and Palestinian Israelis who live there as citizens
Yeah.
with...
Okay, then, so saying you can't criticise Israel because it's anti-Semitic is incorrect then, yeah? See, this is the shell game. This is the constant shell game. Israel is synonymous with Jews when it suits the argument, and Israel is a multi-ethnic, diverse, loving, friendly, LGBTQ paradise when it suits. And you can flip back and forth between those whenever you like. It's disgustingly dishonest.
with
They're-
others, so which is
they're
not the same as
second-
apartheid
yeah,
in South
They're
Africa.
considered second-class citizens as dictated by the Israeli constitution.
point is
there
that-
are varying degrees. There are varying degrees of discrimination in Israeli society.
But I tell you where there's a
Obviously,
lot of discrimination in Hamas-run Gaza. I mean, how would you feel about being a gay man, for example, living under Hamas, or a woman, for example, and you say you would vote for them?
Oh, he's
Come on,
literally
Louis.
doing the they throw gays off roofs.
It was Brianna Wu. Brianna Wu is good.
They just left. They just left.
They just left. Well, I will say, first of all, I enjoyed your description of Schrodinger's apartheid state. It's
Yeah.
quite funny.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's ethno state. But the thing is, Lewis is even wrong to say. Like, Lewis is just wrong here to say that, well, it's different from apartheid South Africa. I mean, of course, there are some Arabs and Palestinians and Druze and Circassians, whatever, who live in Israel proper, right? But the main contention, of course, it's true that people have different rights based upon their religion in Israel proper anyway. It is an occupier and is the de facto controller of the West Bank as well. There is no Palestinian state, more broadly, in terms of the actual control here. It is controlled by Israel. The West Bank has been colonized and has been separated into Bantustans. Do those people who live in those Bantustans have voting rights? No, they do fucking not. Just in the same way as they didn't in the apartheid South Africa. It's the fucking same. Just because there's a handful of Palestinians who, again, some of the Israeli forces or some Zionist forces during the Nakba didn't want to ethnically cleanse them and did want to live side by side, and despite whatever the majority of Zionist forces did, some were able to stick around, as a minority. That doesn't change the dynamic in terms of the comparison with apartheid South Africa. The vast, vast, vast majority of the Palestinian population have no government, have no state, have no citizenship, have no ability of self-determining their own future, and is entirely military controlled by Israel and lives through checkpoints and occupation and the mowing of the lawn, right? Just as the black people did in apartheid South Africa. What did they fucking vote for? What citizenship did they get? No, they were trapped as nobodies in enclaves, just like the West Bank is. It's the same. It's the fucking same.
It's not the same, and I'll tell you why. South Africa and Israel are not the same because South Africa actually admitted they had nuclear weapons.
True.
You know.
Thousand times over. You can't vote for.
I know gay Palestinians, and they would say the exact same thing that I'm about to tell you. The biggest threat to their existence is the Israeli occupation. They might have disagreements with Hamas. They might not.
Yeah, they'll be pushed off a
certain
bridge.
Elements. No, that's racialized.
It's not racialized. It literally happens.
No, 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 that's not
LGBT.
true.
Also, they can't really throw them off roofs when all of the roofs have been blown up.
I mean, that is true. I mean, again, you can talk about the despotic nature of Hamas's totalitarian ideology all if you want, right? But at the end of the day, you can't do that as a way of being able to whitewash Israel when they literally will weaponize the homophobia of Hamas and whatever against gay Palestinians by using their Secret Service operatives to honey trap them and then blackmail them into being spies against the Palestinians. That's how Israel treats gay Palestinians, right? It's absolutely fun to go, well, look how Hamas treat gay people. I'm like, the fucking occupiers weaponize that shit to put Palestinian lives in danger for their own fucking geostrategic and security reasons. It's sick. It's
Israel. And outside of the big cities, gay people are basically not culturally accepted. Like, they obviously show you the gay pride at Tel Aviv, but that's a big cosmopolitan city. Most people don't live there. Most people live in these little places throughout Israel, as is the case with most of us. And in those places, it's, religious extremists.
Yeah, I wonder how the settlers of Gush Etzion would treat a gay person.
Hugo, Hasan,
No, come on,
LGBT
that's
groups
not
around
true.
the world
No, you're
have
making ISIS
condemned her.
comparisons. That's not true. That's
Come on,
that's
come
simply
on.
not true.
So you think
no,
that
is
it is literally
I will have
true.
to push back on this.
All
What
right.
you're saying, no, what you're saying is actually not true, and also a little bit messed up to say, because these groups are very different from one another. I am not an Islamist personally, obviously. I am not. I'm not someone who's
I don't know. Destiny disagrees. So I don't know who to believe.
ever going to be in favor of religious fundamentalism, but Hamas does not represent religious fundamentalist governance. It represents.
You can get up to 10 years in prison for being gay.
Group.
You can get up to 10 years in prison for being gay.
Which is always a punishment I've never quite understood. You enjoy cock, so we're going to send you to prison to stop you doing that. Yeah, okay, that'll definitely work. Are you going to send people to crack dens to get them out off addiction, or what?
down the barrel of a
Yeah,
Hamas gun.
and-
That wouldn't happen
and
to you in Tel
the-
Aviv. Whatever we think about Israel, that wouldn't happen to you in
But
Tel
it doesn't
Aviv.
matter because the gay people
you
are
might
being
not think
killed
it
by
matters, but
Israeli bombs.
You
Because-
might not
because
think it
gay
matters. Yes,
people-
but you're the
if
one
you were to
saying
ask
that
a
I
gay
would vote for
Palestinian
them
right now-
1,000 times over.
if you
I
were to ask
agree
a
with
gay
you.
Palestinian right now, as I have, they would tell you that the number one problem is not Hamas, it's Israel. There are Palestinians whose family members
There are lots
have
of Palestinians
opposed
who think
Hamas
Hamas
that
is
are
a
from
problem.
different that are
But the main problem is like, what is Israel trying to bomb gay rights into Palestine?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Like what?
If we're gonna say that being homophobic is grounds to be genocided, right? Like, okay, when are the bombs falling on Texas?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like,
When are
or
the bombs falling on fucking Conservative Party headquarters?
or the new fucking head of the Scottish EHRC. As well.
News UK officers, anybody? We're gonna give the targets to the IDF and say it's a Hamas command and control center.
different. Yes, exactly. There are Palestinians from different factions, right? There are Palestinians that are engaging in tribal conflict and sectarian conflict, sometimes with Hamas, and yet they will always tell you.
Maybe this is why you've been
universally,
banned, Hasan.
the number one problem from the Palestinian perspective is, of course, the occupying forces, is, of course, the country that is maintaining an apartheid, the nuclear armed nation that has not only just done a genocide in the last 3 years, but also maintained an apartheid for the last 80 at this point. This is the reason
This
why
is the thing,
a lot of
Hasan.
people.
You can believe that Israel has committed unbelievably appalling atrocities. You can even believe it's committed.
He can't bring himself to call it genocide.
I think he might just do it now, but
Well, no, I think he's going to go on and say you might call it X, Y, and Z.
okay.
It's very
Wishy-washy,
Burnham coded.
yeah.
committed evil atrocities. You can even believe that it's committed a genocide while still believing that Hamas is morally and politically appalling, that you wouldn't say
There's nothing more smarmy and self-absorbed than a liberal who thinks they've got the moral high ground. They think they've got an absolute fucking slam dunk point of Hamas is bad. Yeah, well done. Well done, mate.
I mean, again, this fucking nonsense idea that we're gonna then somehow defend the PDPA because they were preferable to the Taliban despite all of the fucking people that they killed in Afghanistan, right? I mean, well, women had more rights under the PDPA than under the Taliban, so that must mean we must therefore love the PDPA with no criticism whatsoever. I'm like, well, and I believe the PDPA were better than the Taliban, but it's a nonsense metric.
Yeah.
that I would vote for them 1,000 times over Israel because it deliberately
Over
targets
Israel, I
civilians.
would.
It deliberately targets civilians as an organisation. It rejects coexistence.
Israel
Yeah, unlike Israel, who have never targeted any civilians. The most moral army in the world, don't you know?
Yeah, and they loved Israel loved coexistence so much that they had to fucking ethnically cleanse the Palestinians in 1948.
Yeah, but it was like it was a totally chill kind of Nakba, actually. It was fine.
And they were so dead set on coexistence that they wrote their plan for ethnic cleansing a decade before it happened, right? The Avner plan was decades in the making. People like to say, oh, well, the only reason why there was displacement was the Arab armies invaded. The Nakba literally started before, it was planned a decade before, and the actual pogroms and the expulsions and the fucking ethnic cleansing and the massacres done by the Zionist militia in Palestine happened months before the Arab armies invaded. Months.
Yeah, but that was to bring gay rights to
bring gay rights
to the people of Palestine.
to
Yeah.
Al-Alamin Husseini's
Honestly,
regime.
it was the most feminist ethnic cleansing there's ever been. Yeah, you think about it.
And
deliberately
it's
targets
fundamentally
Nakba, more like wokeba. Am I right? Am I right?
authoritarian and
But
theocratic.
here's the problem: Israel mathematically deliberately targets and destroys the lives of a far larger number of.
So it's just a
civilians.
utilitarian
Do we
measure.
think? Do we think that Palestinians are human beings? I think you and I don't disagree on this. They're human beings.
But do you think
right?
the Nazis
So
are
if
worse
one
than the
party
Israeli
has
government?
killed-
You think the
if
Nazis
one
are worse
party
than the
has
Israeli
killed
government, right?
thousands-
What the fuck is wrong with you, Lewis? For the love of
It
God,
is-
did you just ask him that question? Did you honestly, in the year 2026, my brother in Christ deliciousness, what the fuck are you talking about?
And also, like, we're gonna have to do like genocide top trumps now.
Yeah. Well, I see your Nazis and I raise you an Armenian genocide.
But I have come here with Pol Pot, who wins in terms of numbers of different demographics slaughtered. Haha, I win.
Ironically, given his name's Pot, you've got me snookered.
Times, let me ask you this question: if one government has killed 1,000 times more, if not more than 1,000 times more civilians, as opposed to the other party, of course you're going to say
you
one
compare
party
the
is worse
Israelis
than
to the
other.
Nazis, but you would accept the Nazis were worse than what the Israeli government.
Gee, you have spent, Lewis, 40 fucking minutes talking about this. 40 minutes on Nazis. And not even, like, Nazis today, on weird, like, oh, you shouldn't say the bad words about the genociders. Look, this is fucking tragic, mate. Like, I did the equivalent of fluffing you earlier by saying you're the least shit of the journalists, and you've not really backed that up, mate. You've not met me halfway at all.
Government has done.
So far, the Nazis, of course, are worse than what the Israeli government has done. However, my fear, and this is the reason why genocide is not measured in how successful it was in wiping out an entire population, but instead genocide nowadays, the statute itself is measured not with the actions alone, but also with the intent, because the whole purpose of the genocide statute is to stop a genocide.
But do you think this might be, Hasan,
right?
why you've, and again, I don't agree with the fact you've been banned, but maybe this is why you've been banned, because you openly support, maybe ultimately this is why you've been banned. Again, I don't support your banning, but maybe the British government has decided, you know what?
Support it a little bit.
You know, no, I don't. I don't agree with a lot of what you say, but I'm absolutely happy for you to come to Britain.
Opinion on this.
Shabana Mahmood has a different view, clearly, or at least the Home Office does, and maybe that's why, because ultimately they think that we don't need this guy over here openly praising an organisation which this government has prescribed and which is a terrorist organisation at a time when we do have.
Hang on, was he supporting Palestine Action? Good God, what a monster!
Did he actually? Did he praise Hamas here?
Not really. He was saying like they're better than the Israeli government, which is true. Like, again, it's a shit metric, as you pointed out with your Afghanistan comparison, but it is true. Like, maybe don't word it as I'd vote for them, because they can just clip that bit and say, oh, you'd vote for Hamas, like, which isn't really what he was saying, but yeah.
A rising,
because like it isn't a dichotomy of either absolutist, fucking Zionism or weird fucking terrorism shit on the other side. Like, maybe we could have a secret third option of neither of those things.
Problem and an appalling problem with anti-Semitic violence in this country.
Mm-hmm. Ironically enough, the last time I was at Oxford Union, I delivered a speech extensively on anti-Semitism being the canary in the coal mine of fascism and how we must always oppose it. Since then, my opinion hasn't shifted on this issue. I think it's morally repugnant, it's odious, and it's wrong. Simply put, it's just the wrong calculation. Because there are some people who will say, oh, well, a lot of Jewish people support Israel. Why don't you just oppose Jews? Are you too afraid to say it? And I always tell them, like, this is not the case, because Jews are not a monolith. No group of individuals are a monolith. If Jews were monolithic in their approach to Israel, then there wouldn't be a multi-million-dollar propaganda initiative that specifically targets young American Jews. I don't know how it is in the UK, but young American Jews, and indoctrinate them into Zionism early on, which has been failing spectacularly, which is part of the reason why a lot of people attack me, I think, because, I have a lot of...
Well, that's, the broader point, I think, that I've mentioned before, but I think holds true. Israel has massively overplayed its hand. It relies exclusively on support from the West, and Western populaces are now turning massively against them. Like, even Trump in the, I think you probably must have seen the quotes from an insider, literally saying that on a phone call he was screaming at Netanyahu, everyone fucking hates Israel now. Because they do. Yeah, like no one is looking at that situation like cool and chill with them. So whilst they've bought off the governments of these Western nations for now, you're going to have these boomer pricks shifting out of the scene and entirely new voters and electorates who have seen nothing but like evil from Israel ever, and that's not going to play well for the Zionist project in the long run. But maybe it'll be too late by then. Maybe they'll have killed all of them and taken over all of the land, and Greater Israel will have happened, and who knows. But the, sort of a kind of reckoning is to come, I think.
A lot of anti-Zionist Jews in my community, and I'm proud to stand by them. And the point that I want to make here is this. You might disagree with my assessment on or the evolution of Hamas's tactics, for example, switching from military targets exclusively to civilian targets. I oppose
Yeah,
that.
I think killing civilians under any circumstances is wrong, whether it's Israelis or Hamas doing it. So
Right, but you only have to be nice about the Israelis doing it.
Yeah, like you don't seem to make that moral equivalence there, Lewis. You don't seem to actually draw that comparison because it seems that you're able to wave away Israeli killings of civilians.
Yeah, but it's a democracy.
In the way that, you know, again, like these seem to be implying that people like Hasan are doing about Hamas when he's just not doing, you know?
I say Israel's 1,000 times worse than Hamas.
no, I think the principle is the same. I think the principle is the same. I don't think.
Yeah, you're a twat. I'm just gonna say it, Lewis. You're a twat, mate. I don't give a fuck. The principle is the same, is it? Because again, you don't seem to be remotely bothered, actually, by the killings of civilians by Israel. You care far more about the optics of, oh, don't say the naughty word, which is like in the face of a genocide is like levels of myopia that I can't fathom that. I don't know how you can possibly see what's going on and be like, the really important thing I'm going to spend 50 fucking minutes talking about is you saying the naughty words about the people committing a fucking genocide before our very eyes.
I'm not a utilitarian, clearly, in the same way that you are, Hasan. I don't think that just because you kill
do you
a few
disagree that Israel has killed 1,000 times more civilians than Hamas has?
Well, hang on. You say you're not a utilitarian, but you're like, you literally were using the defence of, well, October the 7th happened, so Israel had to kill all these fucking people. So you're like a kind of reverse utilitarian. Like, as again, to quote
Maximum negative utility.
Yeah, to quote the great Bassem Youssef on this, how many sons of bitches will it take? You know?
I don't know what the statistics are, but I would accept completely that Israel has killed lots of civilians and it's absolutely heinous. But unlike you, I would draw a moral equivalence between those acts. But you seem to be willing to more because you're attached to a sort of anti-colonial ideology.
Estimate is 70,000 with the overwhelming.
Whereas I'm pro-colonialism. Okay, you kind of threw the mask on the floor there, chap. Because you're a filthy communoid who doesn't like the oppression of people. Whereas I'm the Chad enjoyer of colonialism.
You are willing to basically dismiss one and favour the other, and I'm not. That's the difference between us.
I don't think you're not favoring either party. I think that there is a level.
I think murder of civilian is wrong. Full stop. I don't see it as an anti-colonial struggle. I think it's wrong.
Hang on, Bassem Youssef is a Leo. What? Sorry, hang on. A Leo Frank truther.
What?
I don't know about that. Have you got a link for that? I just meant the interview we did like 3 fucking years ago with Piers Morgan. I wasn't referencing anything else.
Now, yeah.
Wrong, full stop. I don't think it gets them anywhere.
Country. There's a level of understandable sympathy demonstrated by people in Western society, especially towards a country that has been a cooperative ally for a very long time. I totally understand that. It's a byproduct of our social conditioning. We look to a country, and you've mentioned it over and over again. You keep saying, well, it's a democratic process. There is a democracy in Israel, and I keep telling you that it's an apartheid system, so their democratic process is irrelevant.
There are literally Arab-Israeli parties.
It also makes it worse. At the very least, when it comes to Israel, so at the very least when it comes to Palestine, you can say, well, the people of Palestine don't really get a say in how their governments act because they're not elected.
Yeah.
The government in the West Bank, and especially the government in the Gaza Strip, which is Hamas, has not won any elections, and it rules essentially as a military junta in the Gaza Strip. That's basically how they rule that. It's like the Palestinians do not have a say. Therefore, the actions of Hamas can in no way represent the actions of the Palestinians, as they have no mandate with which to do it other than their own kind of military might. Whereas Israelis have seen 2.5 years of genocide. They've seen the insane shit that Netanyahu has done, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank and in Lebanon and in Iran. They've seen all of that. They've seen all of the fucking insane, morally reprehensible, inhuman atrocities committed by their government, and they have deigned to give it even more power. They continue to elect Netanyahu. He's the most successful prime minister in Israeli political history. They look at this and they want more of it. It is actually the democratic will of Israel to engage in this fucking insane and obscene, morally fucking repugnant behavior. So yeah, Israel is worse than Palestine. This is obvious.
In the
Country.
Knesset. You didn't get that in apartheid South Africa.
I know, and
So it's not the
ironically
same,
enough,
is it?
No, there's varying degrees. There's varying degrees of brutality here that we're talking about. You're referencing only Israel proper, and I guess the extension now with the settlement project as well. But Israel isn't just Tel Aviv and the Israel that we point to. Israel is a singular sovereign occupant state that dominates the lives of the almost 10 million Palestinians that live there.
What would,
both in the West Bank and in Gaza. Gaza is a hermetically sealed open-air prison that's being bombed and is being genocided and ethnically cleansed. And the West Bank has been an occupied state, illegally occupied, mind you, militarily, where the citizens don't have any rights whatsoever. They have separate roads, separate license plates. They constantly have to go through this bureaucratic nightmare, this security tyranny that they've created for the Palestinians in their ancestral
Just on British
homeland.
politics, Hasan, because I know I'm running out of time. What would your message be to the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood? Do you want to be let back into Britain?
Yes, I do. I think it's terrifying that the Labour government is creating this environment that instead of leaning in to the democratic wishes of the majority that look at what Israel has done and look at the cooperation of the British government with Israel in horror, understandable horror, and demand an end to it. The British government has very clearly moved in the opposite direction of repression. Instead of addressing these needs, the government is instead telling people that they can't actually protest against this. And there's been silly prescriptions like Palestine Action. I think you and I would probably agree that was a little bit silly to prescribe Palestine Action as a terrorist organization, right? And then also the prosecution of the arrests of pensioners and the elderly for holding up a placard that says Palestine Action. Maybe I'm too American for this, but I find that to be ridiculous, right?
Do you think...
Okay, I'd noticed Lewis didn't really agree with that, but okay, we'll see.
that actually inadvertently the British government, certainly to potentially, I mean, you've got millions and millions of people who watch and listen to you. Do you think that they've magnified your message?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's been a spectacular failure for them because if I came into the country and did my South by Southwest thing and did the Oxford Union speech and whatnot, I'm sure it would have gone as every other time I've been to the UK. People are excited to see me there. It's fine. I have a lot of fans in the UK as well. But now there is this major media crisis, this moment where people are looking at what the government is doing and are worried about the implications of it, which I think is a healthy amount of friction. I mean, this is a part of the complex the complex process of democracy, right? As long as we can still fight for it, as long as we can still maintain it, hopefully. And I do want that to take place.
And just finally, just briefly, on American politics, which we haven't really had much time to discuss. We're obviously gearing up towards the midterms.
Yeah, literally, you've spent 46 minutes wasted on this drivel, and you're not going to spend 7 minutes with an American talking about America. Okay, I mean, cool, I guess. Yeah.
Trump is doing what Trump does. He said the other day that he doesn't really care about any effect that the Iran war has had on American consumer prices, or he's much bothered. He seems to be in a slightly unusual place where he's decided that he's not much bothered about public opinion at this point. But what's your assessment as a very leading sort of figure on the left in American politics about where the Democratic Party is now, and the discussion, the internal discussion about where the Democratic Party should position itself? Where do you think the Dems are at?
There's a divergence between the Democratic Party as a party and the base of support. The base of support, the vote.
Well, no, Miss Hoyer, I wouldn't be banned from re-entering the country because that only happens to brown people who leave. Whereas I'm white as the driven snow, so I'll be allowed back in. Yeah.
Voters, lifelong Democrats, and even independents, as a matter of fact, have completely moved further and further to the left in this process, where they want fighters. They want real.
Yeah, this Plattner guy is a bit interesting, isn't he?
I mean, basically, I'm at this position where anyone who joins the Senate who will vote against the Republicans on issues that matter are people who I will support, whether critically or uncritically.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, the problem is, after being bitten by Fetterman, you do wonder about whether he really means what he says.
Well, the thing is, John Fetterman was always pro-Israel.
Well, that's true, but he wasn't always
John
mental.
Fetterman, yeah, it's true. That's true. But again, I don't like Graham Plattner. I think that it's clearly dodgy, and I think that this rough around the edges style picking of candidates without properly understanding what that implies is a bad thing. But is he better than Susan Collins? Obviously. Do AIPAC oppose him? Well, there you go. Right, there's your evidence. There's the evidence that I need. Right, AIPAC backs your opponent. I will back you. It's not a difficult prescription. But one thing I will say about Graham Plattner, despite the fact that he said lots of bad things, when he was not running, then when he was never intending to ever be engaging in politics, he was saying free Palestine, and he was being pro-LGBT in his Reddit comments that they've published all across the internet. Right, like he had no reason to lie back then about his desire to his communist leanings. Like, I'm not gonna again. I don't like him. He's not my ideal candidate. But if he's running against Susan Collins, I hope he wins. It's not more difficult than that, as far as I'm concerned.
Talking about communist leanings, weird thing. I was looking at it. I'm a weird freak with stats and stuff. And the first ever Norwegian to manage in the Premier League, a guy called Egil Olsen, was also a member of the Norwegian People's Communist Party.
Well, there you go. You'll have to see it.
Weird little stat, and it was in my head, and I had to say it. Yeah, I might be autistic, chat. I'm too scared to go and find out. Okay.
Fetterman had a stroke. It broke his
Real
moral
fighters that will
compass.
try to stop the Trump administration no matter what it takes, including sometimes directly physically protesting, right? Certain initiatives like demanding that Hakeem Jeffries come out and participate in the act of physical protest, even if it's symbolic. Whereas the party itself has taken this interesting stance, this interesting approach where instead of opposing the administration as aggressively as they could, they've decided to wait it out. This is
Nani, the Portuguese midfielder, is a communist. I did not know that. Okay. Well, there you go.
spelled out by James Carville early on, where they said,
I know Diego Maradona was a communist. Massive. He was good friends with Fidel Castro.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My favorite sports person is a racing driver called Pastor Maldonado, who was literally best friends with Hugo Chavez.
As you do. You love to say that.
So much so that so much of money from the Venezuelan oil fund was just funneled into this one guy, so that Venezuela could be good at one sport, and he won one Grand Prix.
Oh, is he Venezuelan then?
Yeah, he's Venezuelan.
Okay, cool.
James Carville straight up came out. He's a Democratic consultant, worked with the Clintons, and he said, show your belly. Show your belly. It doesn't matter because the people will recognize how devastating the Trump administration is. There's this attitude where I think some centrist Democrats want to punish the public so that they come to terms with how devastating the Trump administration is, and then there's no other option other than harm reduction voting, which
right, but also the part of the problem is that the Democrats find it difficult to oppose Trump on a fundamental level because they don't actually disagree with him on that much.
No.
They agree with him on foreign policy by and large. They don't necessarily agree about the Iran thing, but not because they actually have any problem specifically with going to war with Iran. It's just, as with Trump, the liberal critique of Trump is not actually what he does, because Biden fucking got rid of loads of people at the border and fucking funded ICE and all these other fucking appalling things, and supported Israel unconditionally in its fucking genocide. It's that Trump does it, but in a kind of rude way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he lifts the veil on American imperialism and shit like that.
Yeah,
it's really funny watching people like Noah Smith going, I hate Trump because he has validated a bunch of the nonsense assumptions of the left about what America is like internationally. I'm like, no, he just is the personification of that, so that you don't get plausible deniability anymore. We were obviously right to begin with,
Yeah, like Biden would never have come out and said we're going to take Greenland, but that doesn't mean he didn't want to take Greenland.
Or support genocide.
Yeah. So it's literally the kind of the Lewis Goodall can you not just be nicer about it, please? Mm-hmm. Type shit.
Clearly demonstrably failed as a theory in the last election cycle. I find that to be morally repugnant, and I find that to be far too conciliatory to the needs of the growing fascist movement, because I see the danger of MAGA fascism.
I just have to ask you...
And I'm not alone in this either.
No,
There's
I'm sure.
A lot of people.
I just have to ask you this. I did notice this week when looking at some of the things that you've been talking about recently. I know that one of your favoured candidates for Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat, she's obviously the former speaker. She's standing down after many years since she was elected in 1986, I think. And the Dems, obviously, it's a plum seat in San Francisco.
She's been there since before I was born. What the fuck?
That's crazy.
Stand down, you old cunt. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, I don't know about term limits, but like age limits.
Yeah.
You get to 75. Retire. You have to retire.
Cisco, in California, where you are now. And I think the person that you were supporting failed to progress the other day against two other candidates. Yeah, and I think used to work for AOC. And you said it's just effing rich liberals who just want homo-fascism in this country. That's it. They want gay fascism. They want gay techno-fascism. What did you mean by that? What's gay techno-fascism?
Well, I like the gay techno bit, because that just sounds like a fucking good night. But it's the fascism that's the problem. Yeah, no, exactly. It's the Lib Dem thing. It's I want far right economics, but gays are all right, I guess. It's that thing, you know.
It's the bombs with the pride flag.
Yeah. It's the that meme of the they say the drones are being piloted by women now. I feel so liberated.
About San Francisco, though, and it wasn't about Shoykot's race in general. I think it was more so about some of the California liberals that, unlike the rest of the country, are not as we're not as activated, rather, as some of these other places where people are demanding more.
What's gay techno-fascism?
What I'm referencing, of course, is the
techno
comfort that they have with like what level of progressive politics that they're open to. It's not a secret that, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, numerous Silicon...
Well, they benefit from being at the center of the American Unipol, right? Yeah. These people benefit from being the international labor aristocracy. They don't care about American imperialism abroad. They don't care about the reality of what being the Treatler generation means for them. They want the nice things. They don't want to build the houses. They want to keep the world as it was in the 90s and 2000s where everything was fine. And they like gay people, so they're fine with America doing shit across the world as long as there's social liberalism in their own country, right? And we can fix both of these problems.
Oh, actually, I was wrong. Nancy Pelosi was and indeed Lewis Goodall was wrong. She was sworn into office on the 9th of June 1987, so I was less than a month old. So technically it wasn't before I was born. It just means I'm old. I'm old, chat. Okay?
Valley tech CEOs are bringing about this new techno-feudalist dystopia that we're currently living under, and they themselves are open-minded, or rather libertarian, when it comes to certain qualities, like certain civil liberties, obviously LGBTQ liberties, and maybe abortion protections. But everything else outside of that, whether it be immigrants' rights or anti-black racism, Islamophobia.
Exactly, they don't really disagree with Trump on any of these things.
I mean, they do. I think they do. There's a big strain of the Democratic Party in terms of minority rights. I think that's just a big thing in democratic politics. I think that's unmissed here. Like they do care about what's happening to minority rights for black people in America. I think that's true. I think it's been a big part of democratic politics for a very long time, and they recognise it as part of the base. But again, understanding the origins of this and the fact that the kind of pipelines that were set up that created this underclass in the first place, these things still exist. They don't want to undermine that. They don't want to stop getting the cheap labor of the Mexicans coming across the border.
Well, this is what I mean. Like they'll take a knee symbolically. You'll get Ruth Kanda forever memes, but ultimately they don't really do a lot for them. Like the standard of living for black people in America is not significantly better than it was.
No, I mean, like they've got much more symbolic victories because, again, to be able to actually fix the economic settlement for black people in America, there would have to be a wealth redistribution away from rich liberals.
Yeah,
you have to build fucking houses in areas where rich liberals would block the development of those houses. You would need to make sure that the school districts, the nice, plummy, well-funded school districts that are currently funded by rich liberals' property taxes in California, that money would have to be taken by the federal government and given to fucking Tennessee and given to poor black districts in Tennessee where they're infinitely worse off than the rich white liberals who live in leafy suburbia in California and in LA.
They will throw that by the wayside. These are not issues that they necessarily care about. And what I'm referencing there is a pink-washed version of the type of fascism that some wealthy liberals are comfortable with.
Although, again, we
that's
know what
also
would have happened to
dangerous.
gays under fascist regimes, don't we? Hasan?
Yes, no, I think it's very dangerous. I think, well, it's the same principle behind like Jewish cooperators with the Trump administration as well. Like, this is a real warning for every marginalized group that thinks that tokens don't get spent at the end of the day. These guys are...
Yeah, Zia Yusuf, listen up. Just saying. You're trying to start a race war as if you think you're white. And I don't know if you've ever looked into a mirror, because this might not work out well for you.
are inevitably going to oppose all of these groups when there's a better opportune time. So I think we have to...
Whereas I, of course, being both white and having a big ginger beard, can pull it off know which way the race war goes. If the Muslims win, I put on one of them big flowy dresses and I'm just a white convert guy. There's always the one. Every Muslim crowd, there's always one white ginger guy who's the Muslim convert, and they're like, yeah, fair enough, whatever. Right? So I can do that. Yeah, exactly. Radicalise the moderates. Let's go.
I am the most Al Qaeda one here.
True. Or if the whites win, I'm just like, oh look how white I am. I've always been on your side, lads. Honest.
You must eat your SIM cards. Gonna cook, man, buddy. No, you must eat it raw.
You tomato, the special need donkey.
Fight back with intersectionality and fight back fast and fight back hard.
It's easy to have
Anyone-
intersectionality when you're...
Anyone who hasn't seen that film just thinks we've just gone fucking mad. By the way, just spouting crazy shit. I once quoted. Oh my god, with Christie. I once quoted. Now this is a line from the fucking film, right? One of the crazy characters who says, "I want to train a suicide crow to fly into those towers full of Jews and slags." Right? As a joke, as a joke, right? And then I had to explain because she didn't get it at all. And I was like, "I thought you'd seen the film," and she said, "I ain't seen the fucking film." Oh bollocks! Fuck.
The bit where Waj says they should bomb boots because their silk condoms make you want to bang white girls. And I'm just like, anyone hearing that out of context of the fact that it's a parody movie about terrorists would just like immediately go, what the fuck are you talking about?
Jewish spark plugs.
Jews invented spark plugs to control global traffic. What parts of a car are Jewish, buddy?
Oh god. Anyway.
Warning about homo-fascism?
Yes, of course.
Oh, the movie's called Four Lions. If you want a knockabout comedy film about suicide bombers,
It's incredible. I mean,
it is a
so
mad film.
you should basically watch everything that Chris Morris has done.
Yes.
Because now there's the AI boom. I've just realised that I can continue using the clip from Brass Eye, where he goes like, "No wonder everyone is scared of technology," and he just walks up to someone in a street with a big sign saying technology and just shouts "technology," and they go, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Which is quite funny.
It sound very intersectional.
Well, if you think that my warnings about liberal cooperation with a fascist movement by the likes of Peter Thiel and Sam Altman is actually homophobic, I guess we can have a conversation around that. I don't think so, and neither does my audience. My entire community is queer.
When do we think the ban will be lifted, if ever? When can we actually...
True, same here. If I ever met any straight in my audience, I'd be shocked. They're all puffs. I love them.
Expect to see you in the UK.
After this conversation, probably not anytime soon. But
No, I think this will help your case.
We'll see. I mean,
It definitely won't. It shouldn't make any difference, but it definitely won't.
I'm probably going to work with some immigration attorneys to try to identify exactly what took place, because at the end of the day, there are plenty of people who oppose my worldview, think I'm crazy, whatever, right? But I think what we can all unite under is, one, the principle of defending free expression, as long as it doesn't cross certain boundaries that actually do reach into like fomenting violence and like deliberately trying to cause a riot, like inciting a riot or things of that nature. like I'm obviously going to be respectful of the you know, countries that I visit and the opinions that I have on that. And it's not something that I am interested in doing anyway. Inciting a riot is ridiculous. But the other thing is that this process of revocation of visas is actually very opaque, and I think that's somewhat of a problem. That
welcome to the bureaucracy of the UK.
mean,
This ridiculous labyrinthine bullshit where, like, in America you have like separations of powers, which don't really factor in anymore, I guess. But you used to have separations of powers and a constitution that meant something. Whereas in Britain, it's just like, nah, the Home Secretary just decides some shit.
Well, there's so much of America of like. I think what's going to happen in Britain if Farage wins is going to be scarier than Trump. First of all, because Farage isn't a moron. Like, he's not a moron in the same way Trump is. He'd be significantly more competent at being a fucking monster.
I'm not sure, because he's a lazy cunt, to be honest.
I'm sure he is lazy, but he knows how to be able to hire the right people as well.
Yeah.
But on top of this, as you say, there is at least a constitution and separation of powers. They're having to break convention to do what they want to do. In America, in the UK, so much of our democracy, of our political system, is based upon, like, you know, gentlemen's agreements.
Yep.
And so much of stuff is rather than being done via statute, it's just devolved to individual, like, ministerial positions, like the Online Safety Act in terms of what websites you can ban. That's just at the will of the Digital Culture, Media and Sports Secretary,
Yep.
right? Like, the DCMS minister can literally just go, that website's bad. You have to be put behind an age gate. I have to decree it. That's a power given to them by the Online Safety Act.
And it used to be
terrifying.
It used to be way worse until relatively recently, because up until recently, the Home Secretary had the absolute power to indefinitely detain people that had been given a sentence of more than, was it 10 years or something like that, on the basis of what was for the public good. So literally, like terrorists and stuff that were like well known, or like the Moors murderer when Maura Hindley came up for I think back in the 90s, was it, or something? The Home Secretary obviously went, no, you're just staying in prison forever, and that was just final. That's it. That's like, okay, that's the end of that. Whereas now there's like an independent actual like panel that deal with all of that. But it used to just be in the gift of the Home Secretary to just keep you in prison forever.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. A mad shit. Yeah.
So much of our governors like this, like the governments can literally, the HRC guidance, that's a statutory instrument, by the way.
Yeah.
That's just the government being able to do things without having to ask Parliament to do so. It's a statutory instrument, right? And so many of the things that the Tories did last government, which went in the manifesto, which is put through by statutory instrument, there is so much scope for a future fascist government to just rip up the level of governance in this country, because they have so many ways to, again, make things law via statutory instrument without having to go through Parliament, breaking up gentlemen's agreements about how things are done, and so much kind of discretionary power is given to government ministers. And Farage says he wants to get private sector unelected people into these ministerial positions. We can have someone totally unelected using powers given to them by statute to be able to rip things up willy-nilly, totally legally. It's crazy. It's so terrifying to think what it's going to be like.
And it's cocked as fuck, because, like, the police I don't trust, or the army I don't trust, that if Farage just defied Parliament, I don't think they'd step in. I don't for a second think they'd step in, and I don't think that Parliament has enough of a backbone to do anything about it.
No.
I think you could institute fascism in this country with like a really disgusting level of ease and very little pushback from the powers that be. I think there'd be people in the streets, but then once that happens, you've then got the excuse for the police and the army to be set upon those people, of course, which I'm sure would happen.
Home Secretary can just like issue these kinds of travel bans without ever really even revealing why they did so.
Yeah, there's absolutely no transparency. The Home Secretary just goes, nope, and that's it. They don't have to even contact you. They don't have to contact you. They don't have to give you a reason. And as it said, you can't appeal it. It's just the decision has been made. That's it, which is not ideal, really.
Without ever actually saying, here are the reasons why we oppose this person coming into the country. And I think that's been one of the most confusing elements of this entire ordeal. I was actually shocked because, I mean, I was first and foremost shocked because I think that perhaps falsely, I assume that the British government has always maintained this attitude that they would defend free expression and freedom of speech.
And we genuinely used to, by the way. Like, people forget this, but you would imagine, oh, the Victorian era was more repressive. Karl Marx lived and died here.
Yep.
Like, he was he couldn't go back to Germany. He couldn't live in France. And whilst, yes, the British state did spy on him, we know that for an absolute fucking fact. In fact, actually, literally, this really pathetic report given by one British spy that broke into his house whilst no one was there and literally wrote about how bad he felt about the conditions in which he and his family were living. Like he literally, he was there to spy on him, to make sure, and he was just like, this place is fucking filthy. This is disgusting. Anyway, but yeah, we used to Marx, Engels, all kinds of revolutionary thinkers were allowed to exist here, monitored, of course, and that's fine in its own way, I suppose. And now it's like a Twitch streamer, isn't it? How fucking shite is your democracy that a Twitch streamer is a threat? Oh my god!
Unconditionally. But then also beyond that, I was shocked at how not transparent this process was.
Hasan Parker, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, and who knows, maybe we'll see you in London soon. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you for having me.
Well, that's
quite something.
That was quite something. Lewis Goodall went down significantly in my estimation there, I think. That was pish.
I mean, how much do you think of that was him trying to play devil's advocate, trying to hold him to account? Do you think it was his real position? But, like, even if it was him trying to be devil's advocate, it wasn't very good, was it?
Well, that's what, yeah, like, it sort of doesn't matter to me whether he was just doing the devil's avocado bit or whether he was actually, like, outright defending Israel or being a fucking weird, like, establishment stooge bitch. I don't care. It fundamentally doesn't really make much difference, the intent of it. It's the outcome at the end of the day, and essentially he's doing soft defence of Israel. It's the thin end of the Hasbro wedge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like, and that's a shame, because I think Lewis Goodall, I still think he's probably not the worst by any means. We've got, we live in a country where, like...
Bit from the day, talking about, like, him going off at Tony Blair for saying you can't just, like, undemocratically change the economy in favour of AI companies. You can't just tell people it's going to happen without democratic buy-in. And like, it's a really important understanding of the failure of like the future of the Labour Party, right? And I think he's good. He's incisive in some respects, but again, I just think him failing to engage with material reality, that he is a liberal, right? He will not get materialist analysis when it comes to like.
Oh yeah, I'm not expecting that much or anything, but like. Yeah. For him to spend so long being like, be nice to the fascists is just really shit. That's bollocks.
I think you're right. Anyway, we need to call that there because that's fucking late.
Yeah, it is late. So go everyone go and follow No Justice MTG. Otherwise I will I won't really do anything, to be honest. But
everyone go follow Kevin Logan as well. That's an order.
Yeah. Like, I want to do ridiculous, over the top, sarcastic threats. But, like, that would just get me pinged on fucking TOS, even though it's obviously a joke. So I won't do that. I'll send you over to... Well, Jimmy Snow's the only one going, I think. I need to follow more people on YouTube, I think, because not many people broadcast anymore. And it's because all the people I followed were from 10 years ago, and they've just stopped now. Who's going on Twitch? Zach App is going on Twitch, so I'll send you over there.
Hey.
Everyone go and follow Zach App. They're Australian, but don't hold that against them. And I will see you all tomorrow. I'll be with Christy. We're doing a happy hour, which has been put off for like 2 weeks because she's been moving. So I'll look forward to that. What are you up to?
And I'll see you all tomorrow as well. It's an afternoon stream before I'm busy in the evening. I'll see you all later.
Cool. Free Palestine and
Free Palestine. Goodbye.